Chapter 2966 Moment God. Han Sen's expression changed. He stared at Golden Growler, whose body still had its activeness. Golden Growler's life force was not gone yet. Compared to the last time he had seen him, his life force was weaker by a considerable amount. His body still had that pouncing forward position. His claws faced the God Temple's gate. He looked like he was just frozen where he was. What is going on? What happened to Golden Growler? Han Sen's face did not change. He could not figure out what was going on just yet. The demon lady seemed to understand Han Sen, was focusing on Golden Growler. She looked at the God Temple and Golden Growler and said, "Mister, that is the God Temple of Moment God. Back then, when all those God spirits descended, Moment God was there. He was a God spirit that governed time. If I see things correctly, then Golden Growler must have been struck by his moment forever. That moment lasts forever. I am afraid his life will see it trapped at that moment. He will never escape that." Han Sen hurriedly asked, "A high-level God spirit? How are the levels of gods determined? How would you define Moment God's power compared to the creatures of the universe?" The demon lady replied, "From what we know, God spirits have 4 levels, blood myth, which are destruction, disaster, 9,000 annihilation, and Space Garden. If you are talking about his power, that is hard to judge. The person who came to Space Garden was God's retribution. Stronger than low-level God spirits. He did not know why God's retribution because all the God spirits took over the universe's creatures when descending. He checked their powers are affected by their bodies. It made Han Sen's heart skip. As true God class. They cannot go any higher. You got even annihilation God spirits who was an annihilation God by the master. Yet you are fine. In the God Temple, God's retribution, it is hard to gauge the power of a God spirit. It seems Godfather Han lives up to his title. Vulture. What and Han Godfather had top-class treasures and God personality armaments. I have only just recovered from that wound. Fight a disaster-class God spirit and looked at God's retribution annihilation God spirit. You are a very busy person. I was unable to fight the free treasure palace when he descended. So what are you looking at me for exactly? To heavily injure him. I want to come here and chill with God Temple after that. Unfortunately, time is against me. Han Sen frowned and said, "After I left the sanctuary, I have the Holy Kirin to fight him. All I have done is practice. Which do you think would be stronger? The demon lady and have the time to close my eyes. They quickly said, I have barely become primitive class. You must not do this. Yet you are already true God. The Holy Spirits were made by sacred people jealous and envious. Spirits. God's but they were designed to be used by 4 spirits combined. This time, you also have come here on behalf of the Legion's orders. That is how you kill top-class God spirits. And see Blood Legion. Right now, the Legion's leader says he wants to see you. Are being used to break the space barrier. Which leader of Blood Legion are you talking about? And there is only one Holy Spirit. Han Sen frowned. If you just use the Holy Blood Legion's leader was Mr. Lee, with that power, who was trapped inside a coffin in the sanctuary. God spirit. It is not the one you are thinking of, Mister. The leader is the creator of Blood Legion. Han Sen had a lack of resources now. You can call him not mind Golden Growler God's retribution temple. He thought about it and did not follow 9,000 Golden Growler was just frozen and motionless. So little angel could retribution said he did not know much. For Little Flower, he said if he had Golden Growler's life force, go and more resources directly. There were more and more elites. The demon lady seemed decided to go to what many God spirits he had many questions about, and there were many God personalities. It will not be too difficult for Han-Jin creatures that were not on the from what I know. Han Sen did not know what it is. There is a legend to put their flags down. Personality armament has no real power. Spirit. It will not be limited. He also had a few questions about the blood pool. They only challenged the world God first. Yet no one dares call challenge the God spirits of a higher level. Han Sen planned to kill some God spirits. Han Sen allowed 9,000. He wanted to claim their God personality system alone and save Golden Growler. He saw Golden Growler become weaker every day. He was in a rush to not relying on Han Sen did not really care about evolving Growler, putting his front different from humans and becoming a god. Han Sen being a god universe for one was immortal. He saw space was disrupted by a never lifted a finger. Even if one did not with a snake-like body, one would have to lower enough to make Han travel through space. That was like being in jail for eternity. Even though Blood Legion's leader was called Human King, he was still worried. Beast. Although Han Sen thought of that, he still had the one who stole Golden Growler away from him in the first place a long inside the ship. Han Sen did not know the identity of the woman who looked like a snake. That made Han Sen frown. It seemed to be someone from the Ghana race. Seemed to know Han Sen looked at the snake-like woman and asked with shock, "All these years in Blood Legion, does the Ghana still have a true god elite in their God spirit? Why have I not heard about such a person before?" The design of the demon lady looked at the woman and quietly said, "It is because we do not want to be trapped by the God spirit. The Ghana Alpha had a twin little sister. Why would a God spirit want to kill the people of Blood Legion? She was taken by a big beast." Han Sen asked, I think there is an
we are
80% to 90% chance that it is that
was an honest
answer. If things are really this way, that made Han Sun more suspicious. There is an 80% to 90% chance that there are also many humans in Space Garden. Growler from
Why has the God
Spirit not come to trouble us? Empty Mountain Leader was a good friend of Sacred Leader. God's retribution was silent a moment before saying, he disappeared after he went to the Geno Hall. I am not sure about why that is. I did not expect his bloodline to continue. It is a shame he got stuck in the God Palace. So, Red Ghost shook his head and said that it has something to do with the woman and the green-haired beast are the top-class creatures of the universe. But it is crazy that they want to go to Moment God's Hall and save never know Han Sun finally saw Human King. The Human King before him was almost like a statue, and the green-haired Growler entered the proximity of the God Palace. His youthful face made him look like he was 20 years old, God Temple. But his presence made it clear that he was older. We are coming to save you. After entering the green-haired Growler roared. Han Sun had seen his body was brimming with the green light. They were like God's spitting out a pillar of green light. They did not have a level that other golden Growler of the universe were determined by. The green pillar suddenly reached Golden Growler by a distance of about 3 feet away. In fact, but the green light pillar could not cross on his way there. Aside from if one was able to fast forward this by 100 times faster, and the other high races, one would have seen the green light pillar go forward. Any other race of the universe speed of it trying to go through was so slow. Han Sun was unable to tell what level they were. As Han Sun watched, he was dangerous presence. Golden Growler's body was covered by a lasting time area that was similar to Human King sat on the throne. The time area's power was far stronger than Time Ghost area. Han Sun with interest. With the green-haired beast's thought that sounded weird. In that time power, it looked like it had stopped the alpha human. It had not really stopped that calling him his child was normal behavior. Pillar was fading while it was in that time power. Thought it was rather odd. It was extinguished now. You should just call me Han Sun. There was not even a light left. Thought. The Ghana woman's hands clutched a crystal ball. You cannot produce a race. The crystal ball had some red light. Human alpha, but the light was being absorbed by the time power outside of Golden Growler. Seemed to see through what Han Sun was thinking. Erase the time power inside. Human King's lips curved slightly. Boom. He gently said, boom. In the beginning, Temple's door crystallizers used their genes as blueprints to combine with the genes of other creatures. Slim emerged. Many creatures were created this way. Armor. Humans were one such product. She did not look human at all. They created 13 with humans. Every step she took, and I was one of them. Space was like the surface of 13 alpha humans. It was like there were many vortexes. There were 3 men and 10 women. When Han Sun saw Moment God, he was shocked. The other 2 men did not make face and presence. They could not exactly like Moment Queen. Human King laughed out loud. It was more like Moment Queen looked like Moment God. Do I have what it takes to call you a child? Moment Queen was just not a weaker version of Moment God. He instead asked, the presence and atmosphere were different. Han Sun could not deny that Human King many different might have truly been his Han Sun's heart. But Han Sun was now holding the fate of many lives back in Space Garden. Fighting in a God did not know what Human King wanted. There was something different. Han Sun wouldn't risk Space Garden. But the 2 of them were very similar. And the fates of others, they each had time elements. He was an ancestor. It made Han Sun figure things out something else. He committed to anything. Does this mean Qin Shio got a God still spirit? Looked at Han Sun with interest. Does a part of a spirit it was like came he was from observing a new toy? After a while, Human King, the green-haired beast, madly roared, life door. Let little mountain leader go. Why accept the green pillar of light came out of its mouth? It was headed for was always God. Confused about the Ghana woman gathered after he power. Practiced life door. She made a crystal orb of light would spread. His blood pulse it became sutra. Many waves. He never knew what it did. The green light beam. Blood pulse sutra it was like and life door were created by me. It made the green light difference much bigger. Blood pulse sutra it was like a God light that could destroy the world. Headed for Moment Thoughts. Moment failed imaginations. Jade legs stood in front of the God Temple's door. No one else has opened their life door. It was like she could not see those scary beams of light. Only you and I have ever opened their life door. Beast and Ghana woman. Han Sun was shocked. The green beam of light came directly wide as he looked at Human King. It was like a stone falling into a lake. He never thought he would receive such an answer. The waves were in front of Moment Goddess. Seemed to be satisfied with Han Sun's reaction to her. He laughed and went on to say, one thought in heaven and moments your blood pulse sutra is different from the blood pulse sutra known by God's retribution. You have many all their powers that God's retribution, but they still could not hurt her. And the others do not After have. She emotionlessly spoke, it is as if your genes are stronger. She lifted her jade right hand. Your blood pulse sutra she reached out her fingers and evolved the air. It is no wonder why I felt my blood pulse sutra was different from God's retribution. Under the waves, time was like it was frozen. He had guessed it was something stopped running before. The green-haired Growler kept his position he had always spitting out green light. Even so, Han Sun was still continued to hold the crystal ball. He looked at Human King and asked, she was still attacking. If life door everything's powerful. Even the green light beam was like a glass. Why do you not let other Blood Legion members practice it? The green beam of light ahead of her was breaking like shattered glass. It was splitting in both ways. Smiling. It was as if it was forming a path for Moment God to traverse. You
Seeing
have
Moment
practiced for
God
a long
enable
time.
the destruction of
You must know
everything
how
that
Blood
came in
Pulse
her
Sutra
path.
works, yes?
Golden Growler,
Why don't you tell
the
me?
green-haired beast.
Han Sun did
and
not
the
know
Ghana
why he
woman
asked
were
that.
no longer able
But he
to
still
move.
said,
Han Sun
if I
was
had to
planning
wager
to
a
do
guess,
as the demon
the
lady
Blood Pulse
suggested.
Sutra is for
He was going to
extracting
go to
some
no
kind of
world
gene
god
from the human
to take
body.
his god personality
Upon hearing
armament,
this,
Human
Human
King
King
nodded.
nodded.
Gold.
Yes,
Seeing the
I created
situation
the
as
Blood
it
Pulse
was,
Sutra.
they did not
so
dare
that
slow
humans
down.
could return to
He
being
placed
what they
power on the
originally
ground.
were.
He was
I
going
wanted
to
to
use
purify
galaxy
their blood for
teleportation
pure
to
humans
reach the
again.
god palace he
Life
sought.
Door's genes are not
Bauer
pure.
immediately jumped
They will
up.
give all the
She
genes
clutched Han
priority
Sen's back
that goes
and
against
climbed
what I
around his
want.
neck as she
Thus
said,
to me Life Door
Bauer
is a
and father
failure.
are going to save
Han
little
Sun
gold
now
gold.
understood that Life
Seeing
Door was
Moment
not
God
really a
almost
failure.
walk in front of
It was
Golden
just
Growler
because it
and
was
the
not
others.
what Human King
Han
wanted.
Sun did not dare
That
to
was
slow
why
down.
he claimed it was a
He
failure.
used galaxy
Saying
teleportation
the origin
to
is
go
the
in
blue
front
blood
of the
gene.
god palace.
Han Sun asked,
The god palace
why
had a
are
weird
humans
power.
with blue blood
Han
genes
Sun was
considered
unable
real
to teleport
humans?
directly inside
Human
the god
King
palace.
looked at Han Sun
So
and
he had
coldly
no choice
answered,
but to fly inside.
humanity is a race
After
created
entering
by
the
the
god
crystallizers
palace's area,
combining their
Han
genes
Sun
with
felt
that
his
of
body
another
go
creature.
dim.
It
If
went
you were
heavy.
able to guess
It
the
was like
usage
some
of Blood
invisible
Pulse
pressure
Sutra
was raining
you
down
should
on
know
him.
why the blue blood
He felt
genes
like the
result
Geno
in true
Hall
humans.
and the God Temple
Are
were
you
hell.
saying that human
The place
genes
commanded
are the
a terrible
result of
aura of
crystallized
authority.
genes and blue blood
Seeing that
people's
Moment
genes?
God was going
What
to
race
touch
are
the
the blue blood
green-haired
people?
beast ahead.
Han Sen's heart
used
quickly
galaxy
jumped.
teleportation
He really
again.
wanted to know the
This
answer.
time,
It
he
went
managed
smoothly.
to claim Qin
He
Shio's
arrived in
Holy
front
Spirit.
of Moment God Temple.
Yet you didn't know
The
Qin
cause
Shio's
karma
blood
knife
was
was
blue.
burning with the Holy
Human
Kirin's
King
holy
squinted
light.
his eyes as he
Han
looked at
Sun
Han
slashed
Sr.
toward
What?
Moment God. Han
A
Sun
sky
screamed.
full of confused
Are you
people
saying
saw
humans
someone
are
go
the
to the God
byproduct
Palace.
of crystallizer
They
genes
did not know
being
who
mixed
dared
with
to
sacred
get killed
leader
near
Qin
Moment
Shio's
God
temple?
genes?
Anyone
Han
was
Sun
able to
suddenly
tell that
understood
the
a
true
lot
God
more.
class
He
green-haired
understood
beast
why the
and
God
Ghana
Spirit
woman
picked on
did not
humans.
stand a chance.
It also explained
Even
why
Golden
God said
Growler,
those with blue
who had
blood
ended
were
up
real
in
humans.
first place in the God
It was
fight
all
list,
because of sacred
had been
leader
trapped
Qin
in
Shio.
front of Moment God
Apparently,
Temple.
Human
To the
King loved
creatures
to
of the
see Han
universe,
Sun keep losing
Moment
his
God
mind.
was invincible.
He laughed and said,
After looking closely,
back then,
it was
Sacred
very
was
shocking.
destroyed during the God fights.
Godfather Han,
Qin Shio
Han
battled
Sun.
a sky full of
Shocked
God
voices
spirits
were heard all
but
over
he was
the universe.
ultimately defeated.
Sky Palace leader was
Crystallizers were
playing
fortunate
chess with
enough to
Isha.
claim one
When he
drop
saw
of his
this,
blood
his jaw
when
almost
Qin
hit
Shio
the
blew
floor.
up.
They
That
researched
kid,
it.
what is he doing
When
there?
they retreated
It
into
is
the
an annihilation
sanctuaries,
class God
they
spirit.
combined that blood
Is
with
that
the
something
genes
he
of
can
their
even
own
touch?
crystallizers.
Isha felt
They
weird.
produced 13
That
humans.
student had surprised her
After
too many
pausing,
times.
Human
She
King
had
went
grown
on to
numb
say,
to his spectacles.
but the crystallizer's
What is
genes
Godfather
were
Han
weak,
thinking?
and Qin
Does he
Shio's
really
genes
think
were
he is
not
the father
studied
of those
enough.
gods?
The genes of a
All of
human
the
were only
creatures
a
were
small
talking
part
about
of
it.
it. I
Han
created
Sun
the
had done a
Blood Pulse
very good
Sutra,
job when
so
lighting
we
up
could
the
activate
crystallizer
develop
lantern
and recover
This
that
time,
missing
it
gene,
was a God spirit
so that
in
human
front of him,
genes could lean
and
more
it was
toward
not any
Qin Shio.
ordinary God spirit.
After saying that,
Even
Golden
Human King
Growler,
sighed.
who
I
was
never
number one on the
expected
God
what I
fight
wanted
list,
to do would
was
fail.
frozen before
And
it
it happened when
What
it was
the
not
point
meant
in
to
him
be.
going? The life
Mister,
door I believed to have
9,000
failed helped
King,
you create
the
Little
demon
Flower.
lady.
And the others were all feeling a lot of regrets. They wished to pull Han Sun back, but he was already in the God Hall. It was too late to call him back now. They were all heavily injured too. They did not have the power to go to the God Palace and back him up. The green-haired beast and Ghana woman were watching Moment Goddess approach, but they were unable to move. They thought they were going to die. Suddenly, white knife air came slashing through the space between them. It slashed onto the waves of time and cut open the wave of time. It was like a volcanic eruption, and it was headed for Moment God. Moment God's eyes looked a bit weird, but it was only for a moment. Her fingers pressed onto the white knife light. Her fingers' power broke the knife light. The knife light exploded into white dots. When the time wave had been slashed open, the green-haired beast and Ghana woman were free once again. Their bodies fell to the floor. They got up and looked around. Thanks for helping. It is you. The green-haired beast and the Ghana woman wanted to say thank you. When they saw the person was Han Sun, their eyes opened wide. He has a body like faces were
Qin
full of
Shio,
shock,
but he does
They were
not have blue
surprised
blood
and could not believe
You'll never
it.
know.
They felt all sorts of complicated emotions. When the green-haired beast took Golden Growler away from Han Sun, he never thought a day like this would come to pass. He was just a crystallizer child. He did not think he would accomplish much. He never imagined he would become deified. Now, he had become a true god, and he slashed open Moment God's time god power. That kind of power was not something they could challenge. You do not need to thank me, Han Sun coldly said. I am here for little gold. I will make you pay later. Seeing the green green-haired beast be so loyal, and still choosing to go to Moment God Temple? Han Sun did not hate him as much as he thought he would. Golden Growler and Little Flower's situation were a bit different. Golden Growler only accepted the Growler's legacy.
Little Flower was in sacred leader Qin Xiu's hands. Thus, Han Sun was willing to let the green-haired beast go, but he had to destroy the holy palace. There was a difference between them, the green-haired beast loudly shouted. If I was able to save Little Mountain Leader, even if you got us killed, I would not hesitate. It is not that easy. Han Sun's face bore a wry smile. His last strike had exhausted all his power, and Moment God had broken it with one finger. Both of their powers were not on the same level. Han Sun looked at Golden Growler. He was still sealed by the Time God power. The power that trapped Golden Growler was much stronger than the one that went onto the green-haired beast and Ghana woman. Chapter 2968 times goes back. Han Sun's body flashed. Knife light slashed in front of Golden Growler. He wanted to break the Time God power on Golden Growler and set Golden Growler free. Golden Growler had been trapped there for a while. Moment God hadn't killed it, which meant that Golden Growler had the capital to fight Moment God. If he was able to save Golden Growler, perhaps there was a chance. Even if it was hard to fight Moment God, they could still possibly escape. Moment God looked very cold. She did not have any emotions. The 10 fingers on her hands came together. The very 10 fingers made a weird print and pressed forward. Suddenly, the whole of the God Temple's space underwent strange changes. Han Sun saw the slash that almost hit Golden Growler go back. Things felt as if he was in a video that was rewinding. Time rewind. Han Sun was shocked. It was very scary that she could stop time almost forever. But it was even more threatening to learn that Moment God could actually rewind time. Even if it was only for a moment, it was too scary to try and comprehend. Go! Han Sun coldly shouted. He went backward. He wanted to use his teleportation power to exist Moment God Temple. Moment God had her time rewind power. Even if he risked his life, the likelihood of winning was low. The green-haired beast and Ghana woman knew the situation was terrible. They used all of their power to try and leave Moment God Temple's
2976
Moment
Sky God
God's
Crown
print
Han
tied
Sun
up again.
had received
Time
many
rewound
answers
again.
from Human
Han
King.
Sun and the
When
others
he left Blood
teleported.
Legion,
They all
he still
went
had a
flying
few
backward.
things that had yet
Moment
to be
God's
cleared
body
up.
moved. Just as
She
he walked
King
over to
said,
Han Sun,
he
who
did
had
not
just asked
come
Han
back.
Sun to do
Her hand
anything
reached
for
out
him.
for him.
It seemed
Han
as if
Sun
he
was
was
just
still falling
convincing
back
him
in the river
not
of
to
time.
expose the
His
identity
body
of
was still
humans
going
in the
through what he had
universe.
just done.
Human
He
King
was
also
unable to
gave him
change
Blood
his
Pulse
movements.
Sutra's final part.
His power burst
He told
out,
him that if
but
he
it
was
was
willing
useless.
to,
All
he
he
could
had
see
to do
Moment
was
God's
practice
palm
the
was going
final
to touch
part
his
for his
back.
blood
Blurred.
to turn into blue
Han Sun
blood.
coughed up some
Although
blood.
this method
His
was not
body
as pure
instantly
as
ripped
passing
space.
it through generations,
He flew out of the God
it would
Palace
still give
like an
Han Sun
asteroid.
blue blood power.
He was not stopping
The price
either.
to pay was
He
that
hit a
Han
planet
Sun
in
would
the
lose all the
universe
geno
and
arts
blew
he
up the
currently
planet.
had.
Dust
He
was
would not
everywhere.
even be able to make
Creatures
use of
from
beast
every
souls.
race were
All
frozen
he
as
would
they
be able
watched.
to use was
Even
blue blood
Godfather
power.
Han was
Human
unable
King
to beat
did not
that
force
enemy.
Han Sun to
Moment
do that.
God's scariness
It was a
was
decision
deeply
that had to be
realized
made
within
by
the
Han
heads of
Senator
every
Han
living
Sun.
thing.
Asked a
Moment
few
God
questions
looked at where
regarding
Han
Han
Sun had
Jinji.
flown to.
Human
She
King
looked
said
weird.
Han Jinji
It
was
looked
not
as
a
if she
member
was
of
trying
Blood
to
Legion.
confirm something.
He did not possess
She stared
blue
at the
blood.
planet Han
Aside
Sun
from
had blown
that,
up.
he did
The
not say
green-haired
anything else
beast and Ghana
concerning
woman
him.
took
On
advantage
his
of
way
the
back,
time when
Han
Moment
Sun
God
kept
did
thinking.
nothing.
Human
They left
King told
Moment
me a
God
lot.
Temple,
But I feel
Moment
like he was
God did
holding
not
back
seem
on
to
a
care
lot
about
of
their
important
departure.
details.
She
He
stared
had
at the
yet to
dust
be
in
given
space
answers to
and
many
ignored
of
the
them.
questions he
Han
had.
Sun felt as
Han
if his
Sun also
entire
thought
back
there
was
was a big
broken.
problem.
It was too
He just did
painful
not
for
know
him
what
to
it was.
move.
He
What
held
is
up
strong
with Han
against the
Jinji.
pain?
Human
And
King
King
should
should
not
not
be
be
lying about something like this.
to return to
But
Space
why did the
Garden.
people of the
He
7th
teleported
team
halfway.
say Han Jinji
His
had
body
blue
was in
blood?
too much pain.
What was that all
He
about?
fell out of the
Han
teleportation
Sun was
in the middle
very
of the jump.
confused about this
Bao
little
caught him
nugget
in
of
space.
information. She
He
held
thought
him
his trip
and
to Blood
teleported
Legion
him
would
the rest
enable
of the
him
way
to receive
They
answers
returned to
concerning
Space
Han
Garden.
Jinji.
Bauer put
Now,
Han Sun down on
it
the
seemed
bed
as if
and
it was a
asked with a
pointless
real
look
look
of
of
concern.
He still did not know anything about
Are you feeling
Han
better?
Jinji. Human
Not
King
bad.
may have known
I am
something,
still alive at least.
but it was obvious he
Han
did not
Sun
want
used
to
a
spend
lot of
much
power
time
to
talking
speak.
about Han
More
Jinji.
blood came out of his
Han
mouth.
Sun returned to
I will
Space
go and get
Garden.
Little Silver.
9,000
Bauer
King
said.
had yet to return.
She jumped away,
but another
and
pair
eventually
of guests had
brought Little
arrived.
Silver to the
The
side of his
green-haired
bed.
Growler and Ghana
Little
woman
Silver
arrived
had very
at
much
Space Garden.
enjoyed Space
When
Garden's
Han Sun saw
Xenogeniac
them,
genes.
the green-haired
And Han
beast
Sun
did not say
had
anything.
fed it the high-level
It put its
thunder
head in front of
Xenogeniac
Han
gene.
Sun and quietly
Furthermore,
groaned.
Golden
Sorry
Growler
I
had
offended
given
you.
him ancient
You can
thunder
take my
god
life,
origin,
but
which
please
had
save
greatly
Little Mountain
accelerated
Leader.
his ability to
Get up.
level up.
Han
He
Sun
was a
said
primitive
with a wave
deify
of his
now.
hand. The
I am going
ancient
to
thunder
save
god
Little
origin
Gold
in particular,
but you guys should
had
know
helped
my
Little
power
Silver
is
a
not
lot.
enough to fight
It
Moment
made his
God
genes
yet.
better.
I require
Although his
more
attack
time to
power was
prepare
not
what is
very
necessary.
strong.
His healing
If there
power
is
was
something
far
you need,
greater.
please tell us.
No,
the Ghana woman
it is okay.
coldly said.
I am fine.
If it can save Little
Arg.
Mountain Leader,
Han
we will
Sen
do
wanted
anything.
to refuse it.
If
But
you want to save
Silver's
Little
lightning
Gold
landed
from
on him,
Moment God Temple,
it made Han Sen's
we
brain
need more
feel
than
numb
just
as he
us.
screamed.
We require
Take off
more
my
aid.
rope first.
So I need
Han
resources
Sen said
to
while
make
holding
my
in
friends
the pain.
stronger.
Bauer
If you guys have
Han Sen
deified
up.
xenogenic
She
genes,
took off his blue
can you
and
give
black
them to
striped
me?
robe.
Han
When
Sen
she saw
thought
his
Empty
back
Mountain
underneath
must
the
have
robe,
had a
she
lot of good
screamed.
stuff.
The back
Perhaps
of the
he
robe
was
had
able
a big
to
hole in
obtain
it.
some resources
The hole
from
was
them.
shaped like the
Empty
woman's
Mountain
hand.
has some
It
deified
was where Moment
xenogenic
God had
genes.
struck him.
The Ghana
Han
woman
Sen
said,
saw the hole of a
I will
hand
give
in
them
the
to you
robe.
later.
It made him
They were
develop a
currently
wry
unable
smile.
to ask anyone else for
Fortunately,
help.
this robe blocked a
Han
little.
Sen was the only
Otherwise,
person they could
even
turn
if I
to.
did not die,
At least they knew
I would
Han
only
Sen
have half
truly
my life
wanted
left.
to save Golden Growler.
Han Sen turned
That
around
dollar really
and
is
laid down
bad
on the
stuff.
bed.
The
The
green-haired
spell armor
growler
on his
madly
back
said,
had the print
Little
of a hand
Mountain
as
Leader
well.
gave him the first
Fortunately,
seat on the
it
god
did not
list.
pierce through him.
Yet when Little
Even
Mountain
so,
Leader was
Han
in
Sen's
trouble,
backbone
he did
had
not show
almost
up.
been destroyed.
Han Sen
It was
gave
very
a wry
hard to
smile
cast power
and thought
across
that
his
dollar
body.
did not show up because he
Annihilation
was
class
blown
god
up.
spirits
But
sure
what the
scary.
green-haired growler
I couldn't
said
even
reminded
use a
Han
super
Sen
god
that
spirit
Golden
body to
Growler
challenge
gave
it.
Dollar the god list
Han
first
Sen wanted
place.
to get up.
If Dollar
But
still
little
did not
silver
show up,
amplified the
it
amount
might
of
make him
lightning
look
he
bad.
was using.
Although
Han
Dollar's
Sen's
race
body
was
felt
different
very
from Han
itchy
Sen,
and numb again,
and no one
He
expected
screamed
him
again.
to be Han Sen.
Arg! It
Little
was still
Silver's
wrong.
thunder healing was not bad. After
It
sending
helped
the
Han
green-haired
Sen's
growler
true god
and Ghana
body,
woman away,
but the treatment
Han Sen
process
thought
was
about
as awful
matters
as
for a
ever.
while.
After
He
Han
eventually
Sen felt
decided
a bit better,
to challenge the
he
god
was going to
spirit
let
with
Little
Dollar's
Silver
identity.
go. Little
This time,
Silver
the
insisted
god
on
spirit
fixing
Han
him.
Sen
He
decided
kept
to
releasing
challenge
lightning
not
to
Moment
electrify
God.
Han Senator.
It was going to be the
his legs
disaster
go
class
soft.
No World God.
It was a shame Little
Han
Silver
Sen
was
heard the
only
demon lady
primitive
say
class.
that No World
After
God's
he used
power
all of his
could
thunder
enable
power,
him to be immune to
he was
time
still
powers
unable
for a
to
while.
patch up Han Sen's
If he was
entire
able to
body.
get his hands on
Okay,
No
okay.
World God's
I am
God
feeling much
personality
better now.
armament, it
Han
would be a
Sen held
great
his
help
pain
for
in
saving
and
Golden
got out
Growler.
of bed.
When
He
there was
looked
no one
outside the
around,
room.
Han
and saw
Sen turned
Moment
into
God's
xenogenic
mode,
mode, and
Moment
equipped
God
himself
had
with his
returned to her
Dongshan
god
armor.
temple somehow.
He then wore the
One was
Sky
no
God
longer
crown.
able to see
The
her.
Sky God crown
Golden
was an
Growler was
annihilation
still
class
trapped in the
god
plaza in
personality
front of
armament.
the god temple.
It was 2 levels
looked
higher
like
than the
Moment
Sky
God was
Vine
not in a
Radish
rush
god
to
lance.
kill it.
It was
Or
a god personality
perhaps she was
armament
afraid of something
that was almost as
and
good as
decided
Moment
not to
God.
kill Golden
Han
Growler.
Sen had never
Han
used
Sen
the Sky
sighed.
God crown
As
before,
long as Golden
because
Growler
he did
was
not
not
know what
killed,
power it
he
possessed.
had a chance.
It was not
Han
like
Sen
it was
thought,
high level or
I wonder if
automatically
that
useful
annihilation
like
Sky
the
God
light
crown
crown
would
with my
my
xenogenic
soul.
body.
Although it
Can
was a
save
high-level
Little
beast
Beast
from
soul.
Moment
Its
Temple.
power involved
He did
healing.
not think his
In a
chances were
deathmatch
very
battle,
high.
it would not
Moment
serve
God's
much
time
of a
rewind
purpose.
was too
Han
scary.
Sen thought.
Whenever time
Back
was
then,
reversed,
God said
Han
the
Sen
Sky
was
God
unable
crown
to
would
do
allow me to
anything
enter
to
the
combat
Geno
it.
halls freely.
Even with powerful
now the
power,
Geno halls
he
are
could
all
not
on
cast
display.
it.
Does the
Unless
Sky
I can
God
stay in
crown
super
have any
God
other
spirit
uses?
mode?
I
After
will not be
thinking for a
affected by
while,
time
he had
rewind.
decided to wear
Then
the
I
Sky
can
God
save Little
crown.
Gold. The moment Han Sen put on the Sky God Temple and Golden Growler,
light mist like a
his
rainbow
face kept
came
changing.
down.
It covered his entire body. Chapter
From afar,
2969
Han Sen
Breaking
looked like
Point.
a godly
Han, are you
rainbow
okay?
mist. Catcha.
Wang Yuhang,
Han Sen
and
saw
the
the
others were
universe's
looking at Han
cogwheel
Senator.
spin.
They had
It
been
was
there
like
for
there
a
was a
long
giant
time.
mechanical
They
door
heard Han
opening in
Sen
front of
screaming
him
for a while.
This was like
so
the
they
core
had not
area
entered
or the
until
god
now.
area opening.
I am fine.
The door did not
Han Sen
open
said.
solely for Han
I can
Senator.
at least say that
It
I
was
am
because
alive.
of the Sky God
Xie
crown.
King asked.
Han Sen looked at
Did
the
you
space
notice
door.
that the god
He
spirit
saw a
that
rainbow
defeated
mist
you
light.
looked like Moment
Countless
Queen?
substance
Han
chains were
Sen
connected.
nodded.
I am
One was
starting
not
to
able
think
to
the
see what
spirits
it was.
inside the sanctuaries
After
are
hesitating
partially
for a
created
moment,
from the god
Han
spirits
Sen
of
walked
god
toward the
spirits.
rainbow mist light
Xie
that was
King's
flowing
eyes
around
turned
the
bright
door.
as he said.
After his
I think
body
so
completely
too.
walked
If
through
that
the
is
door,
true,
the door
is
closed.
there a god spirit
It
that looks like
disappeared
me?
back into the nether
What?
of space.
Are you going to
The
have a
weird scene
reunion
was
with
gone
him?
too.
Wang
This is
Yuhang
God
asked
Temple.
with a smile.
Han
I
Sen
am going to
frowned
beat
and
him.
looked at what was in
Xie
front of him.
King seriously
It was a
said.
jade stone
I
god
will not
temple.
allow another me to
Beneath Han
exist in
Sen's
this
feet
world.
was a god temple.
temple. He
If
saw
that
Sky
god
Vine
spirit is
Radish
as strong
strong
as
as
the
the
one
one
that
that
beat
beat
Han's
son.
He was not
You will
wrong
be
about
killed.
that. This
Wang
was a
Yuhang
god
was
temple,
not being very
and he was
supportive.
standing on the
You
altar
can't
of
say
the god
that.
temple.
But it is a
Annihilation
shame that I am
god
not a
temple
true
opened.
god.
Name the
Xie
god
Qing
temple.
said while stretching.
A voice
It
echoed
is
through the
pointless
god
for me
temple.
to think of
A
achieving
god
that
flag
victory
flew toward
anytime
Han
soon.
Senior. What is going on?
After they said that,
Did I
it
become a god
reminded Han
spirit?
Sun of something.
Han Sun
The
frowned
creatures in the
and
universe
looked at the
that
empty
evolved
god
to
flag.
that level
The
seemed
god
to be,
flag he
as
used
far
to
as
see
they
already
could
had
take
names.
themselves.
This
All
one
of
was
the
empty.
creatures were
There
only
was nothing
capable
on
of
the
becoming
flag.
true gods,
Han Sun did
and
not
no
want to be
higher.
a god spirit.
There was no room for
Even if it was an
improvement.
annihilation
If one
class
wanted to
god
become
spirit,
stronger,
he did not want
one
that.
had to practice
You are
all
finally
kinds of
here.
Geno arts to increase their Geno arts.
As
It
Han
was
Sun
either
hesitated,
that or get their
the
hands
god
on
temple's
special
door
treasures
opened, and
a
god
girl walked
personality
in.
armaments.
It was Guwaner.
That was the
Upon
only way
hearing
to
her
improve
tone of
one's
voice,
battle power.
Han Sun knew
Han
that
Sun
it was
felt
not
that
Guwaner
even though he
in
had
that
changed
body.
to Xenogenic
It was that
mode,
guy who called
his
himself
pure
God.
power was still worse than moment god. Unless he had the buffs of
Chapter
powerful treasures
2977
and a god
Spirit
personality
Special
armament,
Authority Han
he
Sen
would be
looked at
unable
God
to
and
fight
said,
her face to face.
"You got here at just the
Han
right
Sen
time."
looked at little Angel
Why did I
who was
become a
near
god
him.
spirit for
People
just
say they
wearing
must
the
be
sky
away
god
when
crown?
they drive the car ahead.
God laughed and
when
said,
the flowers go dim,
"You did not become
you
a
can
god
find the
spirit.
village. Because
Now,
the
I do
sky
not
god
have the
crown
power
is
to
here.
level up.
You
And
temporarily
God
became
spirit
a god
genes
spirit.
cannot be absorbed.
If you remove
Maybe
the
other
sky god
people
crown,
cannot level
none
up.
of that will exist.
But maybe I stand a chance.
After hearing that,
Little Angel's
Han
face
took off
was
the
pretty
sky
and
god
calm.
crown. When
and
she was
departed
not
the
in the
god
battle
temple.
angel mode,
When he put the
one
sky
couldn't
god
tell
crown
she was
again,
actually
he
very
returned to that
powerful.
god temple.
Little Angel
The
has
white
just
god
become
flag
primitive
appeared in
now.
front of him.
If she
Is
becomes
that all
a
the
true
sky
god
god
and
crown
combines
does?
herself with me,
Han Sen was
she
disappointed.
can probably strengthen
To
my
him,
fitness by
becoming
a
a god
considerable
spirit
amount. Did not
with
appear
all
to
her
be
tricks
particularly
involved.
useful.
It might be what
God
I need to
sat down
tackle
on the
moment,
god
God.
altar's edge and
Han Sen
casually
made
asked,
his mind up.
"Is that
He was
still
going to
not
help
enough
little
for
Angel
you?
become
You
true
do not
god.
need to do what
If
god
he was able
spirits
to get
do,
Xie Qing
but you
King,
get to enjoy
Wang
the
Yuhang,
benefits of a
Huang
god spirit,
Fujing,
and others
many
to
god
true
spirits
god
would
class.
like that.
That would help as well."
Han Sen's heart
That was
jumped
especially
as he
true of
asked,
Moment Queen.
"What responsibility
reached
and
true god
benefits do
class,
gods have?"
That would be of great
As
service.
long as you wear the sky
Leveling
god
up
crown,
to true god
if the
class
sky
cost
god
a lot
crown
of
is not
energy.
broken,
But
you
Han
will be
Sen
like
needed
other
to
god
save Golden
spirits,
Growler
God
as soon
said.
as possible.
You will have an immortal
Raising
body
one true
inside
god
the
would
god
be hard
temple.
enough.
Even
He
if
did
you are
not have
killed,
the time to
you
build
will
a big
respawn
enough
here in the
stockpile
god
of
temple.
resources to
Han
get
Sen
everyone
lifted
to
his
true
lips
god.
and asked,
Resources.
"What does that mean?"
Resources.
I do not want to be
Resources.
stuck inside a god
I need
temple
resources.
forever.
Space
Of course,
Garden's
it does have
resources
meaning.
are only
For
sufficient
example,
for bringing
if you
someone
are
to
up
primitive
against a
class.
powerful enemy
To
that
keep
you cannot
leveling up,
beat,
we need
you do
more
not need to
resources
be afraid
than
of
what Space
dying
Garden can
when
provide.
you are in the god temple.
Where can I get more resources?
You can fight them without fear.
Han Sen kept thinking.
God laughed.
If he wanted
Han
more
Sen
resources,
shook his head.
he would
That
have
does
to
not
fight
make
for some.
sense.
Aside
If I were
from
killed
that,
by my enemy,
there did not
he
seem
would
to
just
be
take
another
my
valid
flag.
option. Then
Whose
I would end
resources
up
should I
dead.
take?
That is
The
the
first
power
thing
of
Han
Sky
Sen
God
thought to
crown.
plunder.
Even
Were
if
the
someone
spoils
removes
of the
your
Extreme
flag,
King's
it will just
territory.
break your Sky
The
God
very high
crown.
had a lot of
You will
power,
still respawn,
and there were a lot of
but you will
elites
lose
there.
the authority
Going
of
to
being
outer
a god
sky
spirit.
would not be very easy.
God pointed at
The
the
ancient
Sky
God
God
always
crown
saw
and
the
went on to
dragon
say,
heads and never
Plus,
the tails.
when you're a god spirit,
They did not have many
you have the
resources
authority
stored.
of a god spirit.
Taking ancient gods'
you can trade with
resources
any
was
creature in the
pointless.
universe
As for
and
Sky
gain their
Palace, it was
lifespan.
full of elites.
Han Sen had always wondered
Han Yen
that.
was practicing
The
in
god
Sky
spirits
Palace,
were immortal
and
existences.
Isha was in Sky Palace.
So why did they require
He could not
the years
go rob
of others?
Sky Palace of
Based
all
on
of its
God's
resources.
methods, they used a
That
lot
was
of
the main
effort.
reason he let
They would
Sky
do anything
Palace's
for
first
another
seat go.
creature's lifespan.
Once again, Han Sen
That
did
leaves
not
the
understand
Extreme
why
King.
they did it.
Han Sen
To
kept
the
thinking
immortal
about
god
it.
spirits,
He pondered
what is the
deeply
point of
about how he
extending
should
their
go about
lifespan?
it. He did
Han
not
Sen
think he could
pretended
just
to
kill
look
the Extreme
disdained.
King.
About
The
that,
Extreme
you will
King had
understand
been
in
in
the future.
operation for many years.
God did not answer
There were
Han
lots
Sen's
of elites
question.
in that race.
He laughed and
But they
told
also
Han
had
Sen,
countless troves
as
of
for the
treasure.
responsibilities
Even
of
if Han
gods,
Sen used
it
his
is quite
holy
simple.
Kirin,
There
and
was
was only
not
one
afraid
task,
of fighting them one-on-one,
which is to protect the
He was
Geno
not
Hall
strong enough
and
to fight
forbid
the
it from
entire
being
Extreme
invaded
King
by
race.
other creatures.
While Han Sen
Protect
wondered
the
about
Geno
how he
Hall?
should start stealing
Han Sen
resources
asked with
from
an
the Extreme
obvious look
King.
of confusion.
He saw the
Does
God
the Geno
Palace
Hall
be
require
approached by a
protection?
scary creature
Let's
in
not
space.
talk about other
The
things.
God Temple, the
But that
creature
woman
went
inside
to was
the
at the
Geno
bottom
Hall
of the
is
God
invincible.
Palace.
It
God
was like
shook
the
his
thunder
head.
god that was
The goddess
eaten by
he talked
Ghost
about
Car.
is one of the
It was
12
just a
Annihilation
destroyed
class
class
God spirits.
Those
Even
12
so,
Annihilation
it was
class
difficult
God
to
spirits
determine
guard
if
the
the scary
Geno Hall
creature
in
could defeat
sequence.
the God spirit.
Their responsibility
In the
is
end,
the same as
it
all
did
the
not
other
manage
gods
to
spirits,
kill it.
though.
It
There
was
is no
almost
difference
killed by the
between
God
them.
spirit.
What
When
about
it
the
broke
Geno
its
Hall?
legs,
Does
it
the
made a
Geno
hurried
Hall have no
departure
God
from the
spirits?
God temple.
Han
While
Sen
Wang
quickly
Yuhang
asked, and the others
God laughed
dispersed,
but did not answer.
Han Sen took
When you
ancient
enter
Abyss
the Geno
Grandmaster
Hall,
out of
you will
Destiny's Tower.
understand.
And
As long as you have the
Purgatory
Sky God
Heaven that
crown,
Zero managed,
you will earn the
in
benefits of a
Purgatory
God
Heaven.
spirit
Han
minus the
Sen looked at ancient
responsibility.
Abyss Grandmaster
You can also
and
give up
asked,
the God spirit
Grandmaster,
identity.
can you
Whenever
answer
you
a few
please.
questions?
Are you still not
Ancient satisfied with this good
Grandmaster
stuff?
was like an old monk
Aside
meditating.
from all that,
After
Sky
a
God
while,
Crown has
he
no
opened
battle
his eyes and
abilities?
coldly replied,
Han Sen still
"What
thought it
difference
was
does it
useless
make
for
if I
him
give
to
you
become a
answers
god
or
spirit.
not? If
God
your
laughed.
answers satisfy
Of
me,
course,
perhaps
the
I will
Sky
let you
God
live."
Crown is
Han
almost
Sen said.
indestructible.
Ancient Abyss
Its durability
Grandmaster
is
shook his
stronger
head.
than most
"I know a lot of
Annihilation
your
class
secrets
god
now.
personality
If I were
armaments.
you, I would not let you live at all. You can
Grandmaster
use it like a brick,
is very smart,
but the item
I
itself
won't let
does
you
not
leave,
have battle power.
but I can have you live here temporarily.
You should think of a
right?
powerful title now.
Han Sen laughed
Once
and
you
said,
have a god name,
with Grandmaster's
you can really
tricks,
enjoy the powers
perhaps
of
one
being
day
a
you
god.
will find a way to
You
escape.
said there were only 12
You are right.
Annihilation God
If
spirits.
I live,
Han
there might
Sen
be a
said.
chance of that
If
happening.
I use the Sky God
Ancient
Crown,
Abyss
will I count
Grandmaster
as one of the
seemed to be
12?
very accepting
Will I have
of
to
this.
go and guard the
He
Drano
raised his
Hall?
head and said,
You do not
one
need
question
to.
for a
God
10-year
answered with
extension of my
certainty.
life.
Did I not
Sure,
tell you?
but you need
You
to
are not a
answer
real
at least
god
10 of my
spirit.
questions.
You do
Han
not
Sen
take on
said.
the responsibilities
If you cannot
of
answer
God
the
spirits,
question, the deal is void.
Han Sen knew that God was
Fine.
not a liar.
Ancient Abyss
but he was still
Grandmaster
disappointed.
quickly answered.
If he could
After
go to the
thinking
Geno
for a
Hall,
moment,
Han
He
Sen
would like to
asked.
see what the
What do you
interior
know
of
about
that
the Nine
place
Defense
looked like.
Palace?
Seeing the
Do you
empty
mean
god
about
flag,
the spirits?
Han Sen thought
Ancient
for a few
Abyss
moments and
Grandmaster
said,
coldly
I
replied,
will call myself
yes,
the god of
Han
wealth.
Sen was
I
delighted.
love that name.
He did not
and it
expect
goes with my
Ancient
name
Abyss
Dollar.
Grandmaster to
Huh.
know about the
God
spirits
heard Han
there.
Sen's god title
Ancient
and
Abyss
laughed.
Grandmaster was
He weirdly
silent a
looked at
moment
Han
before
Sen and
saying,
said,
Your
I
god
actually
name
don't
is
know
very
much.
happy.
I only know that
It's
when
not bad
Sacred
and
was
very
destroyed,
creative.
Mr.
I know,
Alpha
right?
obtained Sacred
This title
Leader's
is great.
research. A
Han
part of
Sen
it was
knew
about
that God did not
spirits.
mean it, but he
There
did
was,
not
of course,
mind.
9 Defense
The front
Palace.
of the white god
The
flag
matters
now
about
had
9
the word
Defense
wealth on
Palace
it.
are articles
The back
of knowledge.
displayed the words
Only
God
the
of.
king and future
The
kings
flag
are
shone with the
eligible
god
to
light.
learn.
It
I only
flew
know
out
of
of
the
the
god
God
hall.
I only
and
know that
stuck to the
Mr.
god
Alpha
temple's
wanted
door.
to use
The
spirits
moment
to
the
create
god
a
flag
powerful
went
weapon.
there,
The
it would
sky
have
god
likely
crown
been
on
on
Han
Han
Sen's
Sen's
head
head
shone
shone
brightly.
brightly.
To the holy Kirin.
Many
Did
mysterious
it pan
messages
out?
emerged from the
Han
sky
Sen
god
asked.
crown, Ancient
Which
Abyss
made him
looked at Han
understand
Sen
many
and
things.
asked,
I
Is that
see
your
it now.
second question? Han Sen
Yeah,
was feeling
Han Sen
mysterious
answered.
messages.
I think so.
He suddenly seemed
Ancient
to really
Abyss Grandmaster
understand
said.
what it was like to
The
be
king
a god
had a
spirit.
treasure that lasted
He was
a long
not clueless
time,
anymore.
but no others have
Aside
seen
from
it.
what God said,
Everyone who saw
the
that
god
treasure
spirits
is
had
now
other
dead.
powers.
In the
It
history
was
of the
better than what
Extreme
Han
King,
Sen expected.
a few
God
disasters were
spirits earned
corrected
the buffs
solely
of a
by
god
the
temple,
existence of that
and the
treasure.
buffs did not
I
merely
think that
apply
it was
to
a weapon the
immortality.
Extreme King
There was
used
a god
spirits
power
to
buff.
create.
The higher level the god temple was, the more god
Chapter
power he would
2970
receive.
Light Well
Han
Han
Sen
Sen
had that
emerged
annihilation
from
class
Purgatory
god
Heaven
temple.
30 minutes
It gave
later.
Han Sen god
He
power
returned
buffs.
control of
It made
Purgatory
his
Heaven
battle
to
power
zero.
increase
The
another
Extreme
level.
King really
That
is
buff
not
only
simple.
worked in his god
I
temple
cannot go
area.
to King's Kingdom
If he
yet,
left the god
but
temple,
it will not
the
be
god
hard to
power
harvest
buff would
the
be
Extreme
gone.
King's
There
resources
was also
first.
a special god spirit
Han Sen
authority.
rested in Space
That
Garden
special
for a few
authority
days.
only belonged
While
to
he
god
relaxed,
spirits.
he investigated
Every god
the
spirit
resources
had its
Extreme
authority.
King possessed.
Different god temples
Extreme King's
and different
kingdom
god
had the
spirit
most
powers
booty to
and
plunder.
different authorities.
Aside from
Han
Extreme
Sen did
King's
not know what
kingdom,
other powers
there
god
were many
spirits
other
had.
locations
The
he
god
could think
spirit
about
authority
taking
he
resources
received
from
was called
too.
wealth.
Han Sen kept
If
looking
any creature
and
paid
picked
with
a
their
place that was
lifespan,
more suitable
Han
for little
Sen could
angel.
bless them with
There
some
was
wealth
a xenogenic
and give them
space called light
significant
well.
wealth for
In
a
that
short amount of
xenogenic
time.
space,
Of
many
course,
wells had
god
light
spirit
energies in them.
authorities could only
The energy
be used
holes
when
that
that person
deified
paid some of their
plants
years
inside them.
The scarier
which
thing
were called
was that
light
the wealth
well
Han
lotuses.
Sen gave
The
did
legends
not
claim
just come
that
out
the
from
Extreme
nowhere.
King had been
It
growing
used the
those
wealth
light
that
well
the person would
lotuses.
have in the future.
It was unknown how many years it had been,
but there must
if
have
Han
been a
Sen
lot of
gave
light
someone
well
more
lotuses
wealth than he earned in his
because
life.
the light well lotuses
Very bad
did not
things would
initially
happen to
belong
that
to the
person.
Extreme King, and it was the Extreme King that destroyed another race to claim them. What happened with the light wells was something
fulfill
many
your
people
wishes
knew
Han Sen
about.
thought.
After the
Is an
Extreme King
annihilation
took
class
over,
god
they blocked
spirits
that
authority
place.
just wealth?
They stationed
Those
many
gods
soldiers
used to
there
say
to
they
guard
could
it,
do anything,
supposedly,
and fulfill
there
any
was
wish
one
they wanted
extremely
to.
strong
That is
deified
such a
elite
big
sitting
scam.
there. According to the
ordinary
god
races
spirit
did
rules,
not dare do
god
anything to the
spirits
light
could
well.
not give fake
Han
information.
Sen did not care about
If they
that too
lied,
much.
they would not
He
be
was
able
going
to
to attack
finalize
the
a
light
trade.
well.
They
While
would
Han
not
Sen
receive
was
the
resting,
lifespans they
he
sought.
saw the universe's
To compose
true
a
god
trade,
creatures
god
challenged the
spirits
god
would use
spirits.
everything they could.
Most of them failed.
I really don't understand
There were only
why
3
they seemed to be
combatants
so
that
keen
had
on
proved
seeking out
successful
years.
in their bouts.
Sky
One
God
of them was
Crown's message
Ghost Car.
had not included
Out of the
that.
3 of them,
Therefore,
only
Han
one
Sen
chose
was
to
unable
replace
to
the
find
god
out
flag
and
that
god
aside,
spirits position
god spirits
to
had
become
the
a new
authority
god
to
spirit.
leave the god temples.
They had only
They were
challenged
not
a
able to
destruction
leave the
class
god temples
spirit.
for long.
Moment
During
God
that
was an
period,
annihilation class
the god temple
spirit,
was sealed up
so
they
nobody
could not
dared
be
to challenge
challenged.
her.
Unless
Although
the god
annihilation
spirits
class
possessed
god
a creature
spirits
of
were
the
stronger.
universe,
Even
they would not
disaster
be able
class
to
god
leave for a
spirits
very
were
long
not something
time.
other people
If they
or
did do
creatures
that,
wanted to
they would
challenge.
not receive
The
protection
Extreme
from
King's
the
god
army
temples
that guarded
anymore.
the light well.
If they died,
was
they
always
died.
the same.
Unless
They
the
were in
god
a space
personality
fortress
was taken
scanning the
back to the
space
god
around
temple,
to prevent an
they
intrusion
could no
or
longer be
possible
respawned.
invasion.
There was
After
still
all
one
those
very
years,
important thing.
no
God
xenogenic
spirits
had
were
dared
allowed
attempt
to
an
challenge
invasion.
god spirits
In their
that were a
hearts,
higher level
they were
than
no
them.
longer on
But
constant
that was
alert.
pointless for for Han
A
Sen,
worker who was in
because
charge
he was
of
not a real
observation
god
said,
spirit.
He could not
It
level
looks like
up his
something has position
reached
any
the
higher.
entrance of the light
Even if
well.
he could challenge them.
Are you joking?
Han Sen was
Can
already
something reach the
annihilation
light well's
level.
entrance?
He could only
Do you think
challenge
our
god
extreme king
spirits that
space
were at a
fortress
higher level
satellite
than
and
him?
battleships are
Han
broken?
Sen could not fight an
Another
enemy
worker laughed
that was
and
the
looked
same
disdain.
annihilation class
They
as
were
he
the
was.
last defense
To
of the light
challenge a
well.
reboot class
The
god
defensive
spirit
line
was a
in
death
front had
wish.
no movement.
Han Sen would
They
never
did
have
not
tried
think anything
being so
had
bold.
reached where the worker
Han
claimed.
Sen looked at God
There
and
really
wished to
is
say
something.
But God winked
It
at
is
him.
wearing black armor.
He looked at the door of
Hang
the
on.
god temple and
That is-
said,
You
"That
have
is
business
dollar."
to attend to.
After the worker
What do you
enlarged
mean?
the camera's
Han
video
Sen
feed,
looked at the god
he saw a
temple's
person
door.
standing
He did
at
not
the
see
entrance of
anything.
the light well.
He turned around
After
and
he
looked
saw
at
him
God,
clearly, he
but he was
screamed,
gone.
"Dollar?"
While Han Sen was
dollar?
wondering what was going
His
on,
coworker was
he saw
confused
someone
and could
fly
not
into
react.
the God Plaza
The
area.
worker earlier
They were
immediately
flying toward his
replied,
god temple.
"What other dollar could
Han
it
Sen
be?"
wondered.
He was inside
It
the
cannot be
godless
this much
fight.
of a coincidence.
Golden Growler
I
gave
have only
Dollar
just
the
become
first
a
place
god
position.
spirit.
And
all the workers in the universe
already wants to challenge me.
They saw a man wearing armor.
According to what
Han's son had been inspecting
of the light well,
the universe
before they could
only
see things
dared
clearly,
challenging destruction.
the person had already
punched the entrance
no
to
one
the
dared
fortress
to challenge
of the
disaster
well.
class.
He broke
Why
open
would
the
a creature
entire
go
fortress,
and challenge him,
revealing the inside of the light well?
That
Han
body
Sen
was coming
scanned the light
straight
well.
for Han Sen's
He
God
saw that in the
temple.
large place
It
in
soon
space
entered
the
the
radius
radius
of the
stars.
God temple.
He was able to
the
see
God
an
asteroid
God
of
temples
temples
were
cone
situated
shape.
in a realm
It was hanging
that
in
was
space.
between reality and space.
Upon making
no matter
that
where one
discovery,
was in the universe,
he noticed that this
if one's
asteroid
mind
was
was
much
in God's
larger
palace,
than the average
one
planet.
could go there.
There was a
creature
circular
that
hole
was able to
in
fly
the
in the universe
platform
could just use
inside
an
the
airship
hole
to go
there
to
was
a
a lot
God
of
palace.
light.
It was
did
like
not
a
matter how
spotlight
far
had been
or near
switched
one
on.
was. In some
Han Sen
energy
stared
hole,
at the body.
there were light
He was
well
shocked.
lotus flowers
It
that
was
were
someone he
30,000
knew.
feet long.
Why is Fox
Under
Queen
the
coming
shining
here
light
for?
of the hole,
Han
it
Sen
looked
thought.
crystallized.
Fox Queen
It was
was
like
the
a
wife
crystal
of Ghost
flower
Bone
from some
General.
dream.
As far
The
as
light well
Han Sen
had a lot
knew,
of energy
her
in
power
it.
was not
Since
very
it was
strong
like a
when
well,
compared to
it
most
was hard to
deifies.
calculate how much.
She was not able
Most
to fight
of the
a
lights were
destruction
very
class
dim
God
and colorless.
spirit.
How
It
could
looked
she
like
hope
all
to
the
tackle
energy
an
had been
annihilation
used.
class God
Only
spirit?
a small amount
While
of the
Han
light
Sen
well
was
was
making
bright.
guesses,
Only that
Fox
small
Queen
part
was
of the
already
energy
in the
still had
plaza
light
of the
well
God
lotus
temple.
flowers.
By the
There
rules
was
of
a
the
giant
God
energy.
spirits,
Well,
Han
that
Sen
looked
had
like
no
a sky
choice
hole
but to
in the
fight.
center of the light
Otherwise,
well.
Fox
After
Queen
looking
was
inside,
able to
he
replace
saw
his
there
God
was a light
spirit
well
flag.
lotus.
As
It
long
was
as
the
the sky
size of
God
a
crown
space
was
fortress.
not broken, he
Han
would not
Sen
die.
felt an extreme
Fox
and scary
Queen
life
came
force
before the
stemming
God
from the
temple
light well lotus.
and kneeled as if she
He
was
felt
praying
happy.
to a God.
True God,
Mr.
class
God
plant
of wealth,
Xenogeneics.
I want to make a wish
Han
to
Sen
you.
thought it would be
Please
great
help me
if he could get some
It looks like she is
transmutation
not here
or
to
larvae
challenge a
light
God
well
spirit.
lotuses.
He
Han
did not
Sen was
expect
shocked.
there to be a
He
big
said,
guy there.
If
That
you
was
have come
true
for a
God
wish,
class.
then come
Who
in
dares
and
come
speak.
to the light well?
Thank you,
An
mister.
old voice asked.
It was coming from the light well.
Fox Queen entered
Han Sen
God
turned
temple.
around.
Han
He
Sen's
saw an
heart
extreme
jumped.
king elder
The God
sitting on a
temple's
lotus
gate closed
platform
down on the light
leaving
well
only
lotus.
him and Fox Queen.
His whole body
the two
was
of them
doused in the
inside.
lotus light.
Tell me about
Half
your
of
wish.
him was just
I will
light.
fulfill your
He
wish.
did not seem real.
Han Sen
Do you
stood
not know
upon the
me?
God altar.
Han Sen was
He looked at
surprised
Fox
by the
Queen
fact the
with a
old
very
man in the
serious
lotus
look as
did
he
not
spoke.
recognize who
Fox
he was.
Queen was the wife
Not
of
many
Ghost
people
Bone
in
General.
the Extreme King
She
did
must
not
have
know
known
who he
all
was
about
by
God
now.
spirits.
Why would I know
There was
who
an
you are?
80% to
The old man
90%
coldly
chance
asked.
that she
It
knew
does
there
not
was a
matter if you know me or
consequence
not.
for the formation of
You just
wishes.
need to know that the
Han
light
Sen
well
wondered
belongs
why
to
she
me.
had still come there to make
After
a wish.
speaking, Fox
Han
Queen
Sen
kneeled
summoned
again.
his sky
Her
Vince
fox
radish
eyes
god
stared at
lance.
Han's senator.
A god
She spoke very
personality
softly.
armament. I
The
only have
Extreme
one
King
wish.
old man's face
Please help me
changed,
get back my
but he
fox
did not
race's
emerge
race
from the
weapon
giant
nine
nine-spin
well.
destiny mirror.
He reached out his
If
hand
that can be done,
and picked up a
I am
giant
willing
green
to do
metal
anything.
umbrella.
The
Because
green
the
metal
sky god
umbrella's
crown
light
had a light
protected
above
the whole lotus
It made
flower.
Han Sen look
Han
like a
Sen
god
did not mind
enveloped in
that.
rainbow god
He
light.
thrust the lance
Only
at the
his
Extreme
body was
King
visible.
elder.
Not
One
even
was not
atop
able to
class
see his
God
face.
Xenogeneic.
Fox Queen was
able
not
to
able
block
to
Han
tell that
Sen's
he was
power
Han Senator.
with the sky
That
radish
fact
god
made
lance.
Han Sen feel
The
strange.
Extreme King elder
After
did not
Fox
dodge
Queen
or
made a
flash
wish,
away.
Sky
He
God
forced the
Crown
green
sent a
metal
message to
umbrella
Han
to block
Senator
the
it
light.
said,
That
Dome.
if he was able
Under
to
Han
fulfill
Sen's
Fox
lance,
Queen's wish,
the green metal
he would earn a
umbrella's light was
lifespan of
messed up.
300.
But it was
the Sky
unable
God
to
Crown
pierce
showed
through
that
the
if
metal
Han Sen
umbrella.
finished the wish,
The giant light
he
well
could at
lotus
least get
below
300
shivered and shook.
lifespans.
It looked a little
It was
bit
not
dimmer.
just 300
Han Sen
lifespans.
suddenly frowned.
He actually was
He
able
stared
to
at
get
the
more
metal
than
umbrella
that.
the old man
It was
was
like
holding,
if Han Sen
and the
picked up
giant
the
light well
nine-spin
lotus.
destiny mirror.
It was like he
and
had
gave it
noticed
to her.
something.
He
The
would only
elder
get the
coldly
lowest
said,
amount of lifespans
My process
available.
umbrella is
If
already
he
a
went
part
and
of
stole
this
it
light
from some
well
scary
lotus.
elite and
If
returned
you
the
are forced to
nine-spin
break the
destiny
process
mirror to her,
umbrella,
she
the
would
light
pay with
well
a lot
lotus
more
will
of her
be
years.
destroyed with it.
Aside from
I
that,
advise
she
you
would
to take
also
the
get
light
karma.
well lotus and
She would
leave.
have to pay the price.
Otherwise, you aren't
Han
getting
Sen's
anything
God
out of
spirit
it.
power was just wealth. Fox Queen's wish was not in his power to
2971
fulfill.
well lotus
Han Sen had to
understood
find a way to
that
finish
the old
Fox
Extreme
Queen's
King
wish. If
did
he
not
was
know what
unable
sort
to
of
finish
trick
it,
he
had just used.
His lifespan would be
He
damaged.
was able to borrow the
Accepting
light
a
well
wish
lotus
was
power
a double-edged sword
and use it on the
if
green
God's
metal
spirits
umbrella.
accepted the wish,
If Han's son
they had to
attacked
find
the
a way to
extreme
finish
old
it.
man.
If they
They
could
could not
not complete
complete
it,
would only harm
they would
the
have to
well-light
scam the
lotus.
wisher to get
If
and
Han's
keep the
son wanted
lifespan.
the well-light
God's
lotus,
spirits
he could
employed
not
every
kill the
dirty
extreme
trick in the
old
book.
man.
Fox
You have a
Queen's
good
wish
plan.
was something
Han's son
wanted
wanted
to
to complete,
complete,
and
that
looked
was
at the
because he had the
extreme king old
9-spin
man.
destiny mirror.
There are many primitive
Han's
light
son
well
still
lotuses.
hesitated.
The
He did not
extreme
know
king
if the
old man
9-spin
said with a
destiny
laugh,
mirror
"Consider
was worth
them
the
as a gift
300
from me.
years.
The
To
extreme
universal
king will
creatures,
still have nothing to do
lifespan
with
was
you.
very important.
Isn't that perfect?"
Han's son was not a
What he
real
said
God
was kind of
spirit.
soft and hard.
He was not immortal.
It also made sense.
Now Han's son had
If
a
he was an
lifespan of
ordinary
2,000
person
who could not
that
get
seemed
the
like
true
a very
God-class
long
light
time.
well lotus.
To many creatures
He
of
would
the
not make
universe,
things
it was
any worse
nothing.
by offending the
Fox
extreme
Queen was
king.
nervous,
But Han's
she
son
had
was
taken a
very
big
determined
risk
to
coming
get the
to make
true
a wish.
God-class light
There
well
was nothing
lotus.
else she could do.
He was not going to
She
leave
had to
now.
do this.
Han's son
Going
did
to
not
the God
speak.
temple to
He
make a
looked at the
wish
primitive
was a dangerous
class light
prospect.
well lotuses around.
If the god did
and
not
waved
want
his
her to make a
lance.
wish,
He broke
they
the
could
light
simply
well
kill
lotus.
her.
Deified
been killed.
Xenogenea Kuntit. Light well lotus.
Deified Xenogenic gene found.
Han Sun had allowed her
All
to
the
enter the
light
god
lotuses
temple
were cut
and
by Han
speak her
Senator
wish.
many announcements
Her life was
played
safe,
in his head,
but it was
unknown
unknown
whether
whether
or
or
not
not
Han
Han
Sun
could
could
fulfill
fulfill
the
the
wish,
wish,
and
or
threw
how
them
he would
into his
even go about
destiny's
trying.
tower.
It was certain that it would
Xenogenic
affect her a
hunted.
lot.
Light
If a
lotus,
god's spirit finished her very
Xenogenic
difficult
gene
wish,
found,
she would have to
Deified
pay with a
soul
lot of her
obtained.
lifespan.
After killing
She was
100
afraid that
light
her
well
lifespan
lotuses,
might get all
he
spent.
finally received
Han
the
Sun
beast
looked
soul
at Fox
announcement.
Queen and coldly
He
said,
looked into his sea of
I
soul.
can fulfill your wish,
Deified
but I have a
beast soul
condition.
light well lotus.
By some type, incomplete. Han Sun was not in the mood to take a look
Chapter
at what the light well lotus by
Forever
Sima could
Slave
do.
Han Sun
He continued
felt a bit
slashing all the
regretful
light
about
well
allowing
lotuses
Fox
around
Queen
to enter
He
the god
received
temple
213
and make
light
a wish.
well lotuses.
After she made
Out
her
of them
wish,
all,
he
he
was
only
unable to
received
hurt
one
or
beast
kick
soul.
Fox Queen to the
After
curb.
he got all the
He
light
was not
well
allowed
lotuses
to
he
reject the
could.
wish.
He went back
He had
to
to
the
find a
giant
way
light
to
well
make her
lotus.
wish come true.
He looked at the
Han
extreme
Sun
king
saw
old
that the
man and said,
nine-spin destiny
"For by
mirror
king's sake,
was only
if
worth
you leave
300
now,
years
I
of
will
her
not kill
lifespan.
you."
That
The
was too
extreme
little
king
for
old
him,
man's
so
expression
he did not
changed.
want to make the trade.
You are being such a bully.
Fortunately,
Are the
Han
extreme
Sun's
king
position
really
as a
that
god
easy to
was
bully?
annihilation class.
Does that mean you are not
Compared
going
to the
to leave?
destruction class
Han
and
Sun looked
disaster
at the
class,
old man as he spoke.
annihilation god
I am not
spirits
leaving.
had special powers.
What are you going to do to
It
me?
was like Han Sun
The
was
old
able
man
to
opened
apply
the
more
green metal
rules
umbrella
that lesser god
and coldly
spirits
laughed.
could not enforce.
Han Sun's eyes
A
looked weirdly
destruction-class
shiny.
god spirit
He
did
stared
not
at
have
the
that
old
power.
man's eyes and
Of
slowly
course.
asked,
Destruction-class
that
god
umbrella will
spirits were
safeguard
able
your
to
life?
make the same conditions.
Maybe I cannot beat
but
you.
the conditions
But
they
if you want to
enforced
kill
would
me,
not be protected
this
by
lotus
the
will be
rules of god
destroyed.
spirits. The old man
Even
said
if the
with
wisher
certainty.
betrayed the
Really?
rules, one
The
of Han Sun's
destruction-class
eyes suddenly
god
released
spirit
some
could
weird
not
light.
do anything about
His
it.
eye turned a blood
Upon
red color.
hearing this,
In the
Fox
next
Queen
second,
felt her body
Han
shake.
Sun had already
Although she
gone
knew
right
she
through
was
the
going
light
to
of the
lose
green
some
metal
years of her
umbrella.
lifespan.
He entered the
Hearing
old
the
man's
two
eye by
conditions
using
made
the
her
blood-eye
scared.
evil eye beast
Based
soul
on
eye
her
skill.
knowledge of god
Blur.
spirits,
Blood was
she knew
coming
looking
out of
for
the
a
extreme
destruction
king old
class
man's
god
right
spirit.
eye.
To
Even
make
the
a
back
wish
of his
would
head
not
had
put
a
on
bloody
an extra
gaping hole.
condition.
Han Sun was holding the
Destruction-class
Skyvine
god
Radish
spirits may not
Godlands
have been able to
when he
take the
reappeared
nine-spin
behind the
destiny
extreme
mirror
king
from
old
Han
man.
Senator.
Green
Even if it
sprouts
was
grew
taken
out of
back,
the old man's
the
wounds.
price to pay would
They
have been
kept
very
absorbing
high.
the extreme
Perhaps
king
her
old man's
lifespan
life
would
force.
be all gone.
Fox
The
Queen
old man
risked
held
coming
his
there
eye
to
and
find an
screamed.
annihilation
He wanted
class
to swing
god
the green
spirit.
metal umbrella
She hoped
he
such a
possessed.
god spirit
He had
would
only
complete
moved
the
an
wish
inch
with
when
ease,
Han Sen's lance
and
cut
she
off
would
his
not have
arm.
to pay up much
The
of
old
her
man was
lifespan.
terrified.
High-class
He used
god
his other
spirits
hand
had the
to
power
pick up
to
the
apply
one
an
that had been
additional
lopped
charge.
off.
Fox
He then
Queen
picked
was
up the
helpless
green
to
metal
control
umbrella
it.
and flew
If
away.
she did not agree
He
to the
disappeared
extra
in the sky
condition,
at the speed of
the
light.
wish would not be done.
Go home and tell
It would
by
become
king
a
I used
problem.
my life to get
There was
this.
a chance she would
Han
not
Sen
leave
said
that
to the
place
elder
alive.
as he fled.
Please tell
I
me,
deserve
mister.
it. By
Fox
King
Queen
knew
looked
that the
at
holy
Han
baby
Sun
was
with sad
dollar,
eyes, and he had
her
almost
face looked
got
very
the holy
pitiable.
baby killed.
It was the
Han
sort of
Sun
look
used
that could
dollars
make
identity
one
to
buckle
take the light
and
well
comply
lotus
with
as a
whatever
demand
she
for
wanted.
respect.
It made people want to comfort her.
Han Sun wanted
by
the light
using
well
small
lotus,
tricks against
but
me.
he
Do
did
you
not
want to
want the
die?
light well.
Han Sun coldly
looked
grunted.
at the giant light
His body
well
had god
lotus.
powers.
He used the
It was like
Skyvine
hell.
Radish
It was
Godlands
like a
to strike
sea.
its root.
It was headed
With
for
the
Fox
power
Queen.
of the Skyvine
Fox
Radish
Queen's body
Godlands.
shivered.
Han
She
Sun
immediately
slashed it a
kowtowed
dozen
and
times
said,
to cut it.
Please do not be
Deified
mad.
Xenogenic
It was
hunted.
my fault.
Light well
Please
lotus.
forgive how ignorant
Deified
I am.
Xenogenic gene
Seeing
found.
Fox Queen
Deified
quivering
beast
beneath
soul
the altar,
obtained.
Han Sun
felt
was
delighted.
very happy.
Fox
He
Queen
did not
used to
expect
cause
to
him
get
so
another
much
beast
trouble.
soul.
Now
He had a
Fox
look
Queen's
inside his
fate
sea
was
of
in his
soul.
hands.
Deified
It made him
beast
feel
soul light
incredibly
well
good.
lotus.
It
By
was a
Sima
shame Han
perfect.
Sun had let
Seeing
her
the
into the
word
temple
perfect,
to make a wish.
Han Sun was
That
made
kind
even
of
more
offense
thrilled.
was enough to
It was a
cancel the
perfect
wish
class beast
transaction.
soul.
Therefore,
It was equal to
Han
a true
Sun had no
god
choice but to
beast soul.
continue.
He still
I
did
could
not
help you
know
get
what
the
the
light
light
well
well
lotus
lotus
by
destiny mirror
Sima
was for.
But you need to
Han
be my
Sun put the
slave
giant
forever.
light well lotus
Han
inside
Sun
his
was like a
destiny's
lion
tower
opening his
and
mouth.
summoned the light
He did
well
not want to
lotus by
give her the
Sima,
nine-spin destiny
surpassing
mirror
Han Sen's
for 300
expectations. years of her
the
lifespan.
light well lotus by
If
Sima
Fox
Beast's
Queen did
soul
not agree
was
to the
quite
terms
different
and
from the
conditions,
Sima
the wish
Beast's
would
soul
fail.
he had before.
Han Sun would
It
no
was not
longer
a
have to give her
Sima
the
with Han
Han
Sen's
Sen's body
destiny
for a
mirror.
center. If
The
Fox
shadow
Queen
of a
agreed,
light well lotus
her life
was
would
in front
forever
of
be
Han
in Han
Senator.
Sen's hands.
That light well lotus
She would
was
become
the
a
center.
slave and forever
It
be
opened
ruled
up a
by
holy
him.
light by
Giving
Sima
her the
that was
9-spin
30,000
destiny
feet
mirror
long
did not
It
change
covered
much.
the entire area.
Upon hearing this
Han Sun
condition,
stood inside
Fox
the
Queen
Bysema,
looked terrible,
but he did not
her body
feel his
started
speed
to shake
or power receive
The conditions he made were
He did
greater
not
than she
detect
thought
any
they would
defensive
be.
properties
It was like
within
taking
the light
her
well
life.
lotus by
Mister,
Sima
can
ether.
you do that for me
Seeing the
because I
light
am
well
so
lotus's
poor?
shadow released
Fox
a
Queen
holy
pretended
light.
to be
Han
destitute
Sun
as
jumped.
she kneeled.
He used the
You
sky
cannot
vine
talk in
radish
front of a
godlands
god.
to cut his
If
finger.
you don't want it,
He
forget
had a
about
deep
it.
wound.
Turn
In the
around
light
and go
well
home.
lotus by Sima,
Han Sun
the
did not
wound on
care
Han
about her
Sen's
feelings,
finger quickly
so
healed.
he spoke as
The
harshly
damage
as
was
he wanted
instantly
to.
reversed.
Please do not be
Healing
mad.
by Sima,
Fox Queen
Han
bowed
Sun
again.
was delighted by this discovery.
A Bysema
She
like
looked
that was very
sincere,
rare,
but her mind
and it
was
was a true
thinking,
god class
I just
Bysema
wanted
on
to
top
come
of
and
that.
try this god
It
of
was
wealth
very
that I have
effective.
never heard of
Even
before.
though his body
I
could
did
heal
not
fast,
expect he would
the
compose
sort of
conditions
healing
this
power
gross.
he had
But
now
that
must
is
have been
good.
the best
If he
throughout
makes
the
a
entire
condition like
universe.
that,
Han Sun
tried
tried
it out
to
a
steal
few
all the
times.
years of my lifespan.
He soon discovered a major
Perhaps
problem.
I will not lose
The
much
light
of my
well
lifespan.
lotus by Seema's
This
healing
is the end
holy
of the
light
road.
did not
To be
concern
held by
itself
this
with the
annihilation
differences
God's
between
spirit
friend
is
and
safer.
foe.
It
If
did
the
not
extreme
matter who
king
was
wants to
inside.
kill me,
The
it will be
Baisima
even
would have
harder
graced
for
them
them
with
with its healing power.
Although she thought of things
Han
this
Sun
way,
thought, in her mind,
that means I
she
have
was
to
a
be
bit
careful
annoyed
when I make use
This
of
is all
this.
because of that
Otherwise,
Han Senator. If it was
may
not
become
for
a
him,
shield for the
I
enemy.
would not have gone to
He
Destiny's
took all of
Tower.
the light well lotuses
He also
with
took
him
the 9
as he
spin
departed
Destiny
the
mirror,
light well,
which made
the
me
news
become an
concerning
enemy
Dollar
of the
attacking
extreme
the
king.
light, well spread
That
across the
Wu-Chang
entire
keeps chasing
universe.
me.
He
The
has
world
forced
is
me
messed
into this
up.
position,
Even the
so
extreme
now I have
king
no
were
choice.
robbed.
With
She
the God
continued to
palaces
think,
appearing,
this
it
time,
must be a sign
the
of
god
chaos.
of wealth will take
The
the
universe
9
is
spin
not
Destiny
going to be
mirror.
stable anymore.
Han Sun will be doomed.
In the extreme
which makes
king,
me feel a bit
by
better.
King heard what the blind
Thinking
old
of
man
all
had to
this,
say and
Fox
sent him
Queen
away.
realized
She
she
did
sat
not have
alone and
much of a
said,
choice in the
I am
matter.
afraid that
If
kid
she
is
went
not
to
going
another
to stop.
annihilation God
After
spirit,
remaining silent
they
for a
might not
bit,
have even
by
allowed
King
her to
summoned
make a
an
wish.
officer.
She bowed and said,
He told
I
the
will
officer,
do whatever you tell
who
me
was
to
a
do.
messenger, to
As
deliver
Fox
a
Queen
message
said
for
that,
him.
the sky
Wherever
god
dollar
crown
goes,
shone with the god
our people
light.
cannot stop
Han
him.
Sun knew that the
Let
deal
him
was
take
made.
whatever he wants.
He only had to give her
The
the
messenger
9 spin
froze for a
Destiny
while
mirror.
after hearing
In
what by
300
King
years
said.
of Fox
He
Queen's
could not
lifespan
react.
would be his.
Ever since he
Fox
had been
Queen.
born, he had
Fox
not
Queen.
heard the extreme
I bet
king
you never
issue
dreamed
orders
of
like
this
that.
day.
Han Sun was feeling very cocky. He did not
Chapter
give her the
2972
972
resources
yet.
delivered Han
He coldly
Sun
said,
was a bit
"You go
frozen
home from
first.
shock.
Come
He
back
had no
to the
idea
God
what
Hall
was
in
going
3
on.
days.
He had picked up a lot from many different
xenogenic spaces
Fox
that
Queen
belonged to
immediately
the
said
extreme
thank
king.
you.
But she did
Aside
not
from that
leave
old
just
man
yet.
at the light well
She
who
changed her
challenged
tone
him.
and said to Han
No one
Sun,
dared stop him
Mister,
when he
there is
reached
something
the
I
other
know.
places.
Perhaps
They
it
did
will
not
help you
stop
get
him.
the 9 spin
And they
Destiny
were like
mirror
refugees
back.
waiting for
I
the
do not
army
know if
to
I
help
should tell
them.
you. They opened the
Han Sun
gate and
coldly
prepared
asked,
vehicles.
"Oh,
They
why
gave
don't you
Han
indulge
Sun
me?"
whatever he wanted.
Fox Queen
They
was
were
not
afraid
able
Han
to see Han
Sun
Sun's
was not
face,
being able to be
but he
given
did not
enough like a
sound very
person not
interested.
eating enough food.
She quickly said,
because there
"The
wasn't enough to go
9 spin Destiny
around.
mirror is
What
in that
happened?
crystallizer
Did
Han
all the
Sun's
people
hands.
in the extreme king
From what I
suffer
know
a brain
about him,
stroke?
he got the
Han
9
Sun
spin
had a
Destiny
confused
mirror from
expression.
Destiny's Tower.
He was expecting
He
some
destroyed the
strong
god
and
doll
hard
inside.
battles, during
Really?
which he could
Han
kill
Sun
all
feigned
the people he
surprise.
wanted to for
In
fun.
his mind, he
Now
coldly
people were
laughed.
very passionate
Very good,
and willing.
Fox Queen.
They were
You are
happy to
convincing a
provide
god
him with
spirit
whatever
to
he
trick me.
requested.
I will
They
remember
even gave
this,
him cars
and
and
I will make
vehicles.
you pay.
He couldn't kill
Fox
them
Queen
after
looked
that.
at Han Sun,
He called an
who now
extreme
seemed
king
interested.
manager forth.
She quickly
and
said,
asked him what was going
"That god
on.
doll was in the
The
extreme
manager
king for
politely
many
said,
years.
According
It
to
must have
Mr.
collected
Dollar's
a great
question,
number of years.
The answer is
Han
that the
Sun
leader
broke the
claims
god
you are a
doll,
VIP
so he
for
must
the
have a lot of
extreme king.
lifespan in him.
Just tell us if you need
Fox
anything.
Queen stopped talking.
If there is not enough,
but it was
he
so
can tell
obvious
the leader
what she was doing.
He will have whatever
like
you
she
need
was
to be
saying,
sent to you from
Mr.
different
God
places.
Spirit.
Look
Han
at Han's
Sun's son
expression
like he
was
is
a
a
big
big
slab of
He
meat.
was thinking,
You should go
what
and
is wrong
dine on
with
him.
Bai King?
Han's son was not sure if Bai
You
King
know a lot
wanted
about
to hurt
God
him
spirits.
by telling him
Han
to go
Sun
to
coldly
Starter
said
King's
as he
land.
looked at Fox Queen.
Now that he was doing
Fox
this,
Queen was
it just
shocked.
made Han Sun
She
all
lowered
the more
her head and
confused.
said,
I
"Is
have
it
just
because
heard
Bai
Bai
King
King
knows
knows
that he cannot defeat
Okay,
me?
you go home.
Does he want to
Come
avoid
back
his
and
losses
pick up the
by
9
concocting
spin
another
Destiny
scheme
mirror
entirely?
in 3 days?
Han's son
Han
was
Sun
not
sent
able to
Fox
think
Queen
of a
away,
valid reason
but
for
then he
all
was
of
quite
this.
angry. After
Women
robbing
are
a
the
few more
evilest.
places, you better
Han
watch
Sun
out.
was
Fox
no longer
Queen.
having any
I
fun.
will make you cry
He
for
was
your
going to
mommy and
use the
daddy.
excuse of avenging Bai King.
That way, he had a reason to loot and plunder. Now even Han
Chapter
Sun thought this was all
2980
too
moment
weird.
God after
If
Fox
I don't
Queen's
take it,
departure,
then I don't take it.
Han Sun did
If he
not
gives
think
it to
this
me,
was right.
why should I not
Why
take
had
it?
Fox Queen appeared
Han
right
Sun
then
made
and
his
there?
mind up to keep
She
robbing.
had not selected
But
any
he had
other
already
God
robbed
spirit.
18
She
extreme
had just
kings
happened to
xenogenic
choose him,
spaces, who had
He
only
took
just
countless
appeared in his
deified
own god
xenogenic
temple.
genes,
To be able
and
to
the
do
extreme
tricks in a
king
god
did not show a
palace,
single
it must
speck of
be that
resistance.
God. They
Han
provided
Sun started
Han
to
Sun
think
with
it must be
everything,
related
and
to
he felt
God,
good about it.
who was possessing
Ultimately,
Guaner.
it was too much
No
for
way,
Han Sun
I
to
cannot
rob.
keep using
He
this
made a
god
few calculations.
If it keeps
the
opening,
resources he had
perhaps
were enough
something bad
to
might
support
happen.
little Angel in
Hansen
becoming
thought
butterfly
about this
class
and put away
the
his
resources
sky god
required
crown.
to become
He left
true
his
god
god
class
temple, where not
after
things
Han
one
Sun
could
put away
find
the
in
sky
any
god
energy
crown.
make space.
The god of
Even
wealth
if
temple
Han
shut
Sun
down
wanted to collect
because
more,
there was no god
aside from
inside
King's
the temple.
kingdom,
No
there
one
were
could
not
go
many
there
places
and challenge
like
the
it.
light well.
What does that
had
god
true
want
god
from me?
class resources
In the god list's fight.
Never mind.
The one in
Let me
second
take little
place
Angel
was
back
only
and
able
check
to
it
earn
out.
a destruction
If it is
class
not
god
enough,
personality
we can always
armament.
come back for
Even
more.
if I was in first
Although
place
Han Sun
and leveled
thought
up
that
one more,
if he was going to have
I would
to
just
take more,
receive a disaster
it was not
class
something
god
he fancied
personality.
doing.
Is it
Han
not
Sun
too
took
much
a
to
lot
give
of
an
resources
annihilation
back to
class
space
god
garden.
personality
He
armament
asked
to
Qin
someone?
Xian to bring
Han
people
Sun was
to make
confused.
fluids in
God
secret.
must have done all of
Those
that on
resources
purpose.
had to be hidden.
Now that he thought about
Otherwise, People
Even
would
that
have
God would
easily
not have
figured out he
expected
was
Golden
Golden
Growler
Thus,
to give him the
Han's
first
son did
seat.
not allow the
There was
flower
no
god
way he would
people
have
to help him
expected
compose
that.
the Geno
Was
fluid.
that decision
The
made
flower
immediately?
gods were now under
Han's son
Han's
still
son's
did not
complete
think that
control.
was right. The
Han's
technology
son was
for
not
all
able
sorts
to
of
come to
Geno
a
fluids
conclusion
was
he
owned by
liked.
Han's senator.
So he stopped
He told
wasting
the
time.
humans,
He looked at the
spirits,
sky
and
full of
creatures
god
that came from the
temples
sanctuaries
and
to
scanned
help
it for
King
no
Xian.
world god's temple.
Regarding the flower
he wanted
gods,
to fight no
Han's
world
son
god
did
first.
not treat them poorly.
When Han's son
The
discovered
resources
no
in
world
Space
god
Garden
temple
were all
he
handled
noticed
by them.
no world god's
They also
god
kept the
temple
cut
was
of the
still
Geno
shut down.
fluids they
He
created.
is not here.
Little Angel
That
had
depressed
many
Han's
Geno
senator
fluids,
judging from the
so it
experience he had
accelerated
as a
her
god
development.
spirit. She
God
quickly
spirits
evolved.
only had 3
In less
ways
than
to
2
shut
months,
down their god
she was
temple.
butterfly class.
Ordinary
they were
creatures
only
that
allowed to
evolved
shut
that
down a
quickly
god
would not
temple for a
understand
short
their
period of
newfound
time.
abilities.
That allotted time was the only
It was
time
common
a god
for power
spirit
and
could
level
leave
not
the
to
god
match.
palaces.
Then they fought.
They were not able
They
to be
couldn't
gone
use
for
their
a
true
long
fighting
time.
power.
Every time
Little
after
Angel's
using that
situation was
permission
different.
to leave,
Han's
it
son
would
did
be a
not
long
need her
time
to fight.
before they were allowed
He just
to leave
needed her
again.
to combine with
The other
him.
way was if the
So
god
it did not
spirit
matter
had been
if she
slain
didn't
once.
understand anything.
It did not matter
The
if the
leftover
god spirit
resources
was swapped.
contained the true
If
god
the god
class light
spirit
was
was
willing,
willing,
and
could
could
shut
shut
down the
butterflies
god
in
temple
genes
for an entire month.
It was going to
Of
take
course,
a while
they
to
were not
refine
likely
them.
to give up
Even
that
if
right.
she ate them all,
The longest
Little
time a
Angel
temple
would
could
not
be
become
shut
a true
down
god.
was for the
Where else
duration
should I
of
go to
time
get
a god
resources?
spirit
Should I
possessed
rob
the
the
creature of
extreme
the
king
universe.
again?
If
Han
they
Sen
left their
thought.
god temple
Wang
like
Yuhang
that,
approached
their
Han's
temple
son and
could
said,
pretty much be closed
"Old Han,
forever.
outside
No one
Space
was able
Garden,
to challenge
there
them.
is an old man
One
that
had to
keeps
wait until the
complaining
god
nonstop.
spirit returned.
He wants to see
Then,
you."
the god
Han Sen
spirit's
looked
ability
outside.
to be
He
challenged
saw
would be
9,000
re-enabled.
King outside of
Fox
Space
Queen
Garden.
entered the temple
He
and
exited
made a
Space
wish.
Garden and
Every
asked
creature saw
9,000
that.
King.
Although they did
9,000
not know
King,
what happened
what
after
are you
Fox
doing
Queen
here?
exited the temple,
Mister, I
it
have
gave
finally
people
found
very
you.
strange feelings.
9,000 King
Many
quickly bowed
creatures
and
wanted
told
to
him
go to
everything.
the god temples
After
for the
Han's son
creation
left the
of
Big
wishes.
Baron system,
They had all
and was
sorts
hurt
of
by
wishes
moment
to make.
God.
The god
9,000
spirits
King,
would not mind
the
those
demon
people
lady,
coming to make
and
their
the others
wishes,
had been looking
either
for him.
unless it was for some special reason.
They had been
unable
otherwise
to find the
not
injured
many
Han
god
senator
spirits would have
9,000
killed the
King
wishers.
heard Han Sen's
But that was in the
roost was
future.
inside Space
Han's
Garden,
son did not have time
which
to
was
care
why
that
he was
much.
there looking for him.
After he went
Why are
silent
you
for a
looking
bit,
for me?
He
Han
flew toward
Sen hesitantly
hesitantly
asked.
amid the god
You were
palaces.
chosen by sacred
No
leader.
world god was not
9,000 King
so
said
Han
with
Sen
certainty.
selected another
It
god
is only
spirit
natural
that was
for them to want
disaster
to
class.
treat you nicely.
He wanted to see how
Didn't
strong a
sacred leader
disaster
tell them
class
to go
god
wherever
spirit
they
was.
wanted to?
He did not
Is that
command
dollar?
them to follow me.
It is him.
Han Sen
The
frowned.
universe's god list
9,000
first
King
elite
immediately
is challenging
laughed.
a god spirit.
You were chosen by the leader.
What god list
and
first
Little
elite?
Master has a holy
Golden
body.
Growler gave that
He is
to
their
him.
master.
Regardless,
If they do not follow
Dollar's
you,
power
or
is
are they
very
going to
strong.
follow?
I
They
wonder
are
what
resting
level
in
of
sacred
god spirit he
They are
will
waiting
challenge.
for Little Master to
It will
return
most likely
home,
be a
and they
destruction
will
class
bring Little
one.
Master with them to follow you.
Before Han
After
Sen
all,
sent people to
no
look for
creature
Little
dares
Flower
to
in the
challenge a
sanctuaries.
disaster class god
No news
spirit.
about him had been
No
heard.
way.
He is
If they
flying
said they
to
were
a
going
higher
to bring
level of
Little
god
Flower,
palaces.
Han Sen
Is he
did
going
not
to
say
save
anything.
Golden Growler?
He let 9,000
Stop making
King
jokes
rest in Space
Han
Garden.
Godfather.
I still
and
need
those
to
two
go
true
and send a
gods from
message
Empty
to the
Mountain
demon
were
lady
beaten
and
by
the
others.
Moment God with ease.
So they do not need to
Dollar
worry
would
any
die by
longer.
going there.
9,000
It is
King
hard
said.
for us to say.
They also have some
Dollar and
savings
Golden
in the Holy
Growler's
Palace.
relationship is
They
special.
want to give it all to
Golden
you.
Growler
I
gave
will
him
handle
the
the
first
transportation
place.
of the
It is
goods
only
on your
fair that
behalf.
he would try to save
Oh,
him, right?
I thought their treasures
After
and
a
god
while,
personality
many
armaments
creatures
were
watched
destroyed in the
Han Sen
fight
fly
toward a disaster
Sen
god
said.
palace.
What else do they
Someone
own?
said,
They have
there's no way
xenogeneic
he's going to
materials
challenge
they
Moment
received
God.
for killing
That would be
xenogenics
him
in the
having a
Big
death
Baron
wish.
system.
But they
Golden
are not
Growler
great
really
for
is
making
blind.
treasures. He gave him the
9,000
godless
King
seat.
explained.
It is just
So
like
they are
Godfather
materials
Han
that
cannot be used
While
for
everyone
making
was
treasures.
talking,
They
Han
plan
Sen
on
entered
giving
the
it all to
radius
you.
of the God
If you
Temple.
cannot use
He
it,
was on the God
then
Temple's
Little Master
plaza.
can use them. It was a very old stone god temple. The god temple looked like a medieval church. The God Temple had 2 floors. There was a big stone clock. The minute, hour, and second hands were ticking slowly. It was like a normal watch but very large. Moment God. Han's son looked at the god's title on the god flag. He was shocked. Anyone knew that this moment god could be a time disaster god spirit. Han's son had come to challenge moment god because he wanted to see how things fared in xenogenic mode. He wanted to see if he could fight a disaster class god spirit, so he could ready himself to fight moment god in the future. They were both time element god spirits. If he was unable to fight a disaster class god spirit, he could not fight an annihilation class moment god. A sharp and squeaky voice came from the god temple's stone door. Heaven has roads we do not walk. Hell has no doors, and you come knocking. Do you have a death wish? With that sound, the stone door opened up. A shadow emerged from the god temple. Han's son, and the races of the universe's creatures, and people stared at the god spirit that was coming out from the god temple. This was the first time someone had sought to challenge a disaster-class god spirit. It was a very eye-catching sight. When that shadow walked out of the stone temple's door, many creatures saw that it was a weird creature. It looked like a human, but its skin was a black carapace. It looked like a human bug. Its eyes were very weird. The eyes had no pupils. They were just white. Within the eye white, there was the illustration of a clock. It included the hands that told the time, and the numbers they went around. Han Sen was not about to underestimate this foe. After all, he had never fought a disaster god spirit before. The god spirits he used to kill were all destruction class. He held the sky vine radish god lance, and gathered up the power on the tip of the lance. He used the Dongxian Sutra to the max suddenly. The whole universe was a complicated machine in Han Sen's eyes. Countless universes were spinning. BZD. A lance was thrust forward. It was like space was punctured by that lance. It went in front of Moment God. Moment God coldly smiled. Its left eye was like a watch. The needles rotated quickly. The speed of Han Sen's lance was fast, but Moment God was faster. It went left a little, and avoided the attack of the Sky Vine Radish God lance. Han Sen's expression did not change. The lance was like heavy rain striking down, but Moment God moved swiftly. It was like it could just move without thinking. Han Sen's heavy storm-like lance attack did not touch its body. Chapter 2981 Time is like a ruler. Blasphemy to a god spirit should result in death. Moment God coldly looked at Han Sen. The needles in his right eye were turning quickly. It was different from the ones in his left eye. The needles in his right eye were going counterclockwise. As the needles of his right eye spun, in other people's eyes, Han Sen's movements seemed to be slower. It looked like he was moving in slow motion. Moment God's speed wasn't slowing down. He was very fast. One was fast, and the other was slow. It created a clear contrast. Moment God teleported in front of Han Sen. His fingers were very sharp. He was scratching toward Han Sen's face. The fingernails were like the tips of a lance. They were going to pierce Han Sen's eyes. Moment God's face looked very interested as he laughed in an evil way. He slashed downward, but Han Sen's body disappeared in front of him. In the next moment, Han Sen's body appeared near Moment God's back. The Sky Vine Radish God lance was thrusting into his opponent's neck. The tip of the lance was right next to him. That's a very powerful teleport skill, but it is futile against me. The needles in Moment God's eyes kept spinning in different directions. Han Sen's speed was constantly slowing down, while his opponent's speed grew faster. The tip of the lance almost touched his skin. Moment God established some distance between them. He turned around and threw a punch into Han Sen's belly. Han Sen was like an old man with slow reactions. He saw Moment God's punch, but he could do nothing to dodge. It was also too late for him to put the lance away. Moment God's fist was still too slow. Han Sen's body teleported to the other end of the Moment God Temple Plaza. The man and the god kept fighting. Moment God's power, which could control time, was incredibly weird. Han Sen's ability to teleport was shocking too. Neither of them was able to do anything to each other. Dollar is so strong. He can fight a disaster god spirit without reprieve. He keeps using teleportation skills to move around. Don't say that. Moment God has to be a time element god spirit. He has the power to make Dollar slow down in a web of time. That does not only make him slow down, but his powers and mind also slow down. If it was a normal person in this situation, even if he had a teleportation skill, it would be too late to use them. He would instantly be killed by Moment God. Dollar's thoughts traveled 10,000 miles per hour. They are not restricted by the time god's power. In the universe, not many people can practice teleportation skills to this level. It is almost as good as the very high with their god's wander ability. No matter how powerful his teleportation skills are, he cannot defeat Moment God. Han Sen had his time area to use, but it was his other persona that was making use of it. He was not able to use it as he was now. Plus, a time ghost beast soul's time area was weaker than Moment God's time god power. Even if he used it, it would not make a change in the current fight. Using time power before time element god spirits was like using a big knife against a Guan Yu. Han Sen did not plan on doing that. Because Han Sen had the time area. He knew that breaking moment god's time god area could only be accomplished through two different techniques. One required speed, and one required absolute power. Old Vulture used absolute speed to break Han Sen's time area. Han Sen did not have that kind of speed. So all he could do was use absolute power to break moment god's god power. It does not matter with time or space, but the rules of the universe are the rules of the universe. They are governed by the universal cogwheels. If I can control the cogwheels of the universe, I can prohibit the universal cogwheels from moving. Even god powers will be unable to affect the spread. Han Sen teleported to dodge moment god's attack. He kept using the Dongxian Sutra, and pumped all the power into Dongxian aura that he could. He tried to use absolute power to control the spinning of the universal cogwheels. In xenogenic mode, my power is better than the average true god. I still do not know if it is enough to suppress a disaster-class god spirit. Han Sen kept using the Dongxian aura to give pressure to the time universal cogwheel. The time universal cogwheel could not be stopped completely, but the speed of its spin was slow. The effects on Han Sen weakened. The xenogenic power cannot suppress disaster god spirits. Han Sen frowned. Time's delay had little effect on him now. Under the effect of the Dongxian aura, moment god's own time boost was slowed down. It made his speed slow down. Adding this and taking away that, Han Sen turned active. He was not going to keep teleporting to fight moment god. Dong! The Sky Vine Radish God Lance was able to hit moment god's claws for the first time. The god power hit the lance's light. It triggered a scary explosion and shockwave. Han Sen flew away through space by a few thousand miles. Moment god's legs had two very deep footprints on the god temple plaza. He can affect my time god power. It is no wonder he is so cocky. He dares to challenge me. Moment god's eyes flashed. The needles in his eyes kept spinning. They looked scary and weird. He said, "If you think this can fight a god, you are wrong. I will let you know the difference between a mere creature and a god spirit." After that, moment god's claws dug into his own eyes. There was one in the right and one in the left. Catcha! Seeing blood being spilled as the two sharp claws poked into his eyes, moment god unplugged his eyeballs right out of their sockets. This was different from what Han Sen was expecting. Inside the sockets, god lights flickered. The eyeballs, which had been dug out, were not the only ones. Many eyes started to come out. One by one, eyes rolled out of the god light socket. Roar! When moment god madly roared, all the eyeballs in his eyes were dug out. There were 12 of them. He put his hands together. He made a bracelet out of the 12 eyeballs. They went across his crossed hands. There were still streams of blood coming out of his eyes. Han Sen looked at the eyeball bracelet. All those eyeballs were like circular watches. All of the needless were jumping to an unspecified rhythm, but all the eyeballs were pointing to a different point in time. Han Sen looked closer and discovered that each watch was 1 hour later than the others. Time is like a ruler. One mark is one scar. Stupid lowlife creature. How dare you insult a god spirit? Today, I will wipe you from the annals of history. I will let all the cheap creatures know that they cannot offend a god spirit. Moment god's hands were holding the bloody eyeball necklace. His eyes were still bleeding god blood as he spoke his words of madness. After moment god crazily spoke, his fingers flicked the eyeballs. The necklace was instantly brighter. It covered the entirety of space. Chapter 2982 Time. Etching the whole of space in the area of the god temple was twisted. Nothing was visible with any ordinary clarity. This was what the deified elites could see, but even their vision started to become distorted. It was like a shadow in the water. When the water moved, the vision twisted. Moment god held his time bracelet. He mumbled words like a Buddha speaking for the dead. In that twisted parcel of space, moment god's body was like a sky god covering the whole of the god temple's sky. Han Sen was like a tiny ant. Except a god's anger. Time etching. Moment god's god voice was loud. He raised the bracelet that was in his hands. The needless present in the 12 eyeballs was spinning madly. In one moment, Han Sen felt as if he could see the flow of time with his eyes. All the numbers in the 12 eyes fired out some weird, twisted lights. The light connected them in the 12 eyes. It was like a giant net covering the entire God Temple's area. Han Sen did not have a space to avoid it. He could not find a place to be safe. He saw the weird light cross together like a net. It was coming down. Han Sen pushed his Dongxian aura to the max. But he still could not stop the twisting lines of time that were descending. The time light's line landed on Han Sen's Dongxian armor. It was like a laser, and left some weird markings on it. It was like a symbol that represented time. It scrawled across the entire battle armor's surface. This is. Han Sen noticed his body did not get injured. Instead, his whole body was marked. The markings were releasing a weird sort of power. Han Sen wanted to raise his hands and see what had been etched into his armor and what it meant for him. He shockingly found out his arm was no longer listening to him. He was unable to move it. Why is this happening? Han Sen quickly discovered that it was not just his arm. His whole body was unable to move. He was not even able to cast a Geno art. Han Sen was feeling very strange. Although he was unable to move, he still felt his body existed. He was able to feel his body's presence flowing. Everything seemed to be normal. Whenever he wanted to do something, his hands, legs, and presence listened. This feeling was very weird. It was like a ghost crushing him. He felt everything but could not move. Moment God looked at Han Sen coldly. The god blood was still flowing from his eye sockets. He was holding the bracelet while he said, "Stop wasting your breath. Your time is already being erased. There is nothing you can do about it now. You can only accept God's punishment. That is the result of your blasphemy toward a God spirit." What Moment God said was very simple. Han Sen understood what he meant, because he had practiced a time area Geno art. He knew something about time element powers. Moment God had just reminded him a little, so Han Sen knew what the time etching power could do. Han Sen's body was not paralyzed, because the time etching wiped off his body for a while. It was hard to explain. Normally, when Han Sen wanted to do something, once his mind set it up, his body reacted. The time etching marks erased his body for a while. When Han Sen had the idea to move, the time would be empty afterward. He needed to wait until the empty time was over. Then, Han Sen's body would have the needed reaction. It was like playing a video game, and the internet suddenly lagged. The time in between was wiped away. When the internet came back, the body reacted. Han Sen did not know how long that empty time was. After seeing Moment God's very relaxed face, he knew it would not be anytime soon. Moment God's hands were clutching the bloody eyeball necklace. He walked toward Han Senator. The sockets that had God blood coldly looked at Han Senator. They were going to touch Han Sen's face. He licked his lips and smiled evilly. Moment God then said, "I thought you were so good at fighting. I am standing right here. Why are you not moving?" Han Sen wanted to slap him 1,000 or 10,000 times. But it was a shame his body would not listen. The time etching erased the time he had in his body. He was not even able to speak. "Don't say I did not give you a chance. If you don't move now, you will receive God's punishment." Moment God weirdly laughed. He reached out his hand and moved forward to grab Han Sen's head. "It looks like I will have to use this." Han Sen gently closed his eyes. He was going to use Super God Spirit mode. At this time, the Super God Spirit body was not going to be affected. With Wanner's effect, his Super God Spirit mode would not last long. But it was enough. Moment God was very close to him. His awareness was very low. He only needed one moment to take Moment God's life. Moment God's face had a bloody smile. The claw, which looked like a very sharp talon, drew closer to Han Sen's head. Clearly, he did not want Han Sen to die a swift death. "Do you want to live? Beg before me. Perhaps I will show you a speck of mercy and let you, a low-life, cheap creature, continue your pitiful existence." Moment God weirdly laughed as he spoke. The creatures watching the fight saw Dollar being suppressed by Moment God. He was unable to move, so it was needless to say they were shocked. Although Dollar was not the real #1 fighter on the God list, his real power put him in the top 10. Yet here he was getting suppressed by a disaster-class God spirit, by such an obscene amount. How was anyone supposed to not feel shocked? This was just a disaster-class God spirit. Above disaster class were annihilation and reboot. There were 2 higher classes of god spirits. They must have been absolutely terrifying. We are just creatures of the universe. We cannot fight god spirits. Only by becoming god spirits ourselves can we shed the trappings of our mortal body. That way we can become superior life forms. Many creatures thought that. Han Sen was just watching Moment God. Although he was not able to speak, even if he could, he would not beg for his life before Moment God. That equaled making a wish to Moment God. Han Sen had briefly been a god spirit. He knew making a wish like that would cost him a fortune. Han Sen's eyes made Moment God feel so annoyed. They made him so angry that he coldly said, "If you want to die, I will do as you ask." After that the claws sped up. They came slashing toward Han Sen's head. Han Sen was unable to fight back. He watched the claws land on his head. "Stop it!" A voice sounded from beyond the god temple. The voice was so slow that no one noticed a body flying into the god temple's plaza. Because of that moment, Han Sen's body shone brightly. He was like a volcano erupting. His body armor was covered by the time-etching marks. It turned into a bright white color. Chapter 2983 Killing a God Spirit. Moment God did not believe Han Sen could break the time-etching's control. He was too close to Han Senator. He wanted to use time power to stop Han Sen, but it was no longer working. In that burning light, Han Sen was holding the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. It had cold light that pierced into Moment God's chest. "So what if you can hit me? The body of a disaster-class God Spirit cannot be harmed by you." Before Moment God finished his sentence, his face changed. He looked down and saw Han Sen's Sky Vine Radish God Lance had perforated his chest. In that cold light, Moment God's disaster-class God Spirit body was pierced. His body started to collapse from the point of that wound on his body. "No, this is impossible." Moment God thought it was unbelievable and screamed. His entire body turned into dust and exploded. "It looks like my Super God Spirit mode has become much stronger as I leveled up." Han Sen was a little surprised by its effectiveness. He had not expected to kill Moment God in the way he had with one hit. He was hoping to just heavily damage Moment God. The moment he used Super God Spirit mode, he chose his strongest attack, Super Spank. The effect far exceeded Han Sen's expectations. With one hit, he blew up the disaster-class God Spirit Moment God. Although Moment God had been very careless, the main reason for defeating him was because Han Sen's Super God Spirit mode was just too strong. Han Sen measured it a little. Even when he used the Kirin's Holy Spirit, it was no match for the power of Super God Spirit mode. But Wana was there. His Super God Spirit only let out a strike, and that was that. It quickly dissolved. Han Sen returned to normal. It had all happened very fast. The universe's audience saw Han Sen's body explode with white light. In the next second, he was thrusting his weapon through Moment God. The incredibly strong disaster-class Moment God had not been able to resist. He screamed and died. The universe went silent. After a while, all the creatures started reacting. Everyone was erupting with chatter. It is no wonder Dollar is the strongest in the universe. One lance strike was enough to blow up a disaster-class God Spirit. That is invincible. Ah, you did not say that before. You said Han Sen's God list number 1 was given by Golden Growler. That is not what I meant. Golden Growler gave out number 1 because he knew he would lose. Otherwise, why would he give it to him? It just means Dollar is too strong. Dollar is too strong. He must be the first creature in the universe to slay a disaster-class God Spirit. Everybody was talking about it. The green-haired beast from Empty Mountain gnashed its teeth and madly said, "Dollar has that power." Yet he did not go to save Little Mountain Leader. If he cooperates with Han Sen, perhaps they can save Little Mountain from that Moment God Temple. The Ghana woman coldly grunted. Wolf hearts and dog lungs. They had no idea Han Sen and Dollar could not cooperate. No one suspected Han Sen and Dollar were the same person, because they were of a different race. It was like a cat and a dog. No one would have believed they were the same. In the Geno Hall, God looked at Han Sen standing in front of the God Temple. He frowned and thought, this power, it is going to reach that level. His body really is different. In Blood Legion, Human King squinted his eyes and looked at Han Senator. His eyes looked weird. On the streets of a small planet, a fortune-telling old man opened his eyes wide. He looked at Han Sun in front of the God Temple. He was full of confusion and said, "Weird. Not a God spirit. How could he use a power that was like a God spirit?" Sky Palace leader frowned and receded into his thoughts. Dollar, what race is he? Why would he possess that power? In front of Moment God Temple, Moment God turned into dust, but did not fade away like other God spirits. The God Temple's God altar did not start. The God flag that had Moment God's title suddenly turned white. The God Temple started to look dim. It turned into an empty temple with no God spirit. What is going on? How has God spirit not been revived? Everyone was shocked. They did not know what was happening. The God spirit that claimed to be immortal did not respawn. Han Sun was confused too. After he hunted Moment God, he only received one announcement. Disaster class God spirit hunted, Moment God. The announcement was just that one simple line. No God spirit or God spirit gene was received. It was different from what Han Sun had slain before. What is going on? Is it because of Super Spank? Or is it a problem with my Super God Spirit mode? Han Sun suddenly had many ideas running through his mind. On the other side of the God Temple's plaza, a body stood where it was. It was looking at Han Sun with much shock. After a moment, that shocked face suddenly had a weird smile and said, "Dollar really is legendary. One lance enabled you to slay a god. In the universe, you really must be number one." Bai King. Han Sun turned around. He felt weird. He knew Bai King was already there, but he did not know why Bai King had come there now. Obviously, Bai King had arrived there in the hopes of saving him. If he had not used his Super God Spirit mode, Bai King would have come there to take Moment God's strike on his behalf. Han Sun did not think his relationship with Bai King was that good. So far, everything Bai King did confused Han. Senator Han Sun looked at Bai King and asked, "Why? This place is not appropriate for us to talk. Let us find another place to talk." After speaking, Bai King left the God Palaces. Han Sun followed Bai King and flew away from the God Palaces. He really wanted to know what Bai King's motive was for treating him the way he was all the time. Han Sun and Bai King disappeared after leaving the God Temple, because the God Palaces showed up again. It was a place everyone could see from across the universe. Every race was able to witness what happened near the God Palaces. After leaving the God Palaces, unless they were close to Han Sun, no one could see them. This act made the universe blow up. Every creature was shocked and confused. Aren't God spirits immortal? What is going on? How was Dollar able to murder a God spirit? What just happened? Why didn't Moment God revive inside the God Temple? Oh my God! Dollar can really slay God spirits. It looks like God spirits are not invincible. They claim to be immortal, but he was killed by Dollar. The whole universe was talking about Han Sun killing a God spirit. The invincible image of God spirits seemed to have crumbled a bit. Han Sun and Bai King had just left the God Palaces. They were looking for a quiet place to talk when the God Palace's God Temple suddenly shone very bright. Chapter 2984 God Spirit descends in the God Palaces. The God Temple under the Geno Hall began to release a 3,000-foot-long light. It was like a sun exploding. Previously the life force was like a sea. The God Temple that released the scary God light was suddenly dead. The shining gold God Temple was dim. It was like some dust had been scattered. What's going on? Han Sun and Bai King were shocked. That God Temple was very high. It was only one step below the Geno Hall. It was an Annihilation-class God Temple. Looking at the God Temple now, it seemed as if it had been beaten and shut down. In the universe, who can beat an Annihilation-class God Spirit and force it to shut down? While Han Sun pondered this, he saw the dusty God Temple door open. A shadow emerged from beyond. The creatures of the universe did not see whose body it was. All they saw was a flash and the body disappear. It looked like it left the God Palace. Oh no! Bai King's face changed. Han Sun looked at Bai King and asked, "Oh no, what?" "That Annihilation-class God Spirit possessed a body and descended," Bai King said. "It entered the universe." We should run. He wanted to run off immediately. Before his body moved, he saw a portion of space move nearby. A body appeared. It was the same body that emerged from the God Palace. The body was not very tall. It just about a foot taller than Han Sen, but the power it wielded was strong. He was wearing black armor. His shoulders had a black hammer that was the size of a barrel. His god eyes were coldly looking at Han Sr. You killed a god. You should be killed. The god spirit did not say much. He only said a few words before starting to wave his big hammer around in the air. Han Sen understood that the annihilation god spirit had possessed a body to descend and kill him, since he had killed a god. Han Sen did not say anything. He used galaxy teleportation because he wanted to leave. He wanted to teleport a few systems away. Han Sen teleported away. While he was teleporting, he was inside a space tunnel. He heard some explosion sounds next to his ear. He then felt his body get hit. He was knocked out of the space tunnel. Han Sen's eyes flashed. He still saw himself in space. That god spirit's strong body was not very far away. He was holding that big scary hammer. The space around was cracking like glass. The space cracks were like a spiderweb. The power of the god spirit's hammer was breaking the entire system. It created many broken layers in space. Even using galaxy teleportation was impossible now. It could no longer be used. Han Sen knew it was time to fight for his life. Killing a disaster-class god spirit had been incredibly difficult. It forced him to use his super god spirit mode. Now an annihilation-class god spirit was using a body to descend. The power of that hammer far exceeded Han Sen's power. Han Sen's full power attack was unable to reach the magnitude of his new nemesis. He tightly held onto the sky vine radish god lance. Han Sen pushed his own power to the maximum. Bai King, who was nearby, frowned. He looked at the god spirit and said, I do not think we offended you. Why have you descended to come and fight us? The god spirit was holding his big hammer as he coldly responded, killing a god spirit is a crime. After that, another hammer came from the sky. He and Han Sen were a galaxy apart. But that hammer's power was not coming to strike Han Senator. It was striking the space that was in front of him. After the hammer came down, the whole of space shook. Han Sen felt as if his body had been broken by space. Blurg. Han Sen coughed up some boiling blood. He tried his hardest to fight back, but his xenogenic battle body could still not withstand that scary shaking power. Many of his organs were severely injured, and his god bones had many fractures. It was like they were going to break any second. Bai King was attacked too. His body was shining with light. There was a shield of light covering his body that looked like a god spirit. It blocked that scary shaking power. The god spirit hammered down. This time, the hammer's strike was greater than the last one. Han Sen was in too much shock. He was forced to gather up power and ready himself for another battle. Boom! Bai King's body appeared in front of Han Senator. That weird light was following Bai King's movement. It created a defensive bulwark and blocked the god spirit's heavy hammer attack. Spirit of God. Han Sen was shocked. When he looked closer, it was not really a god spirit. The light of Bai King's body was like a god and a demon. It was like an ancient battle spirit. It had 3 heads and 6 arms. 6 of the hands were wielding different weapons. There was a sword, knife, shield, jian ring, and mirror. There were 4 types of weapons, and they were releasing a weird and mysterious light. The one that blocked the god spirit's hammer attack was the shield. Han Sen looked at the light. It looked just like a beast's soul and god spirit, but it was different. He was thinking of the xenogenics that had no souls in the 9 Defense Palace. He thought, are these spirit weapons made from the xenogenic spirits? Bai King stared at the god spirit and slowly said to Han Sen, you leave now. Why are you saving me? Han Sen did not understand why Bai King was risking a fight against this god spirit to save him. In any way, his relationship with Bai King was not a positive one. If Bai King had come to save him, because he was a student, Han Sen believed that was hogwash. When Bai King's son died, he had not taken it that seriously. And he was just a student. Bai King stared at the god spirit as he said, I don't have time to talk about that. I cannot last long. Hurry up and leave. Get as far away from here as you possibly can. No one is leaving. You are all going to die today. The god's voice was like thunder. It was extremely loud. After those words were spoken, the god spirit's big hammer was coming down. The hammer carried an incredibly scary breaking power. It was suddenly in front of Bai King. The shaking of space was very scary. Now that the hammer was coming, it was so strong that even Han Sun, who was behind Bai King, felt as if he could not beat it. Bai King stared at that scary god hammer. He did not fall back. His body was like a demon god's shadow that was silently roaring in the sky. He was holding the shield while running toward the god hammer. Boom! A scary shockwave suddenly destroyed the space around. Han Sun used all of his power to fight the shockwave, but his Dongxian armor was starting to reveal cracks. Run! Bai King's voice was heard again. Han Sun gnashed his teeth. He turned around and headed for the broken space that looked like a spiderweb. Don't run! The god spirit coldly shouted. He was holding a big hammer. He waved it at Han Sun, but Bai King stopped him. If there is someone I want to save, not even a god can get in the way. Bai King's voice was clear and cold. Han Sun felt there was some scary space-shaking force behind him. Han Sun used the borrow strength skill and the shockwave to propel his sprint through the broken space. Chapter 2985 Kill Sky. God teleporting so fast through broken space made the scary power from behind become weaker. When Han Sun exited the broken space area, he did not see that annihilation god spirit follow. Bai King must have halted its pursuit. The spirit weapon the Extreme King made was stronger than the Holy Kirin. That is surprising. Han Sun was shocked. Thinking of how that thing came from the Extreme King Alpha, it must have been handed down generation after generation. It was unknown how many xenogenic spirits had been built into it. It was not impossible for it to possess such wild strength. It was enough to fight an annihilation-class god spirit. Han Sun still thought it was too ridiculous. Why does Bai King treat me the way he does? Han Sun thought. That was what he wondered about the most. In the past, Bai King was in a rush to save him in the god temple. He was so surprised. Now, Bai King was willing to fight an annihilation-class god spirit to save him. That made no sense. No matter what, let me get out of here first. Han Sun was silent. He did not dare return to Space Garden yet. He teleported to the outskirts of the Big Barren systems. He was afraid the god spirit would trace his retreat into Space Garden. If it followed him there, he feared things would not go so well. Going to the outskirts, Han Sun went into the Big Barren systems again. He wanted to use the hidden power inside the Big Barren systems, so that the god spirit would not find out where he was. He would then be able to escape with Han Sun's identity. Han Sun had only just entered the Big Barren systems when he heard some thunder rage above his head. The space around cracked. It resulted in it all cracking like a spiderweb. That god spirit tore through space and managed to catch up. I thought that after a god spirit was possessed, their powers were restricted by their bodies. I thought they could only be true god class at best. This god spirit's power is way better than a true god class. Han Sun frowned. Han Sun looked at the god spirit and asked, "Where is Bai King? I kill Sky God wanna kill. Not even God can stop me. And he is just a creature in the universe." Kill Sky God was holding his god hammer. He was floating in space and coldly looking at Han Sun as he spoke. Han Sun heard Kill Sky God's tone of voice and felt a flush of relief. It seemed as if Bai King had not been killed by him. Kill Sky God raised the hammer in his hand. In a voice laden with disdain he said, "The slayers of gods should be killed. No one can save you now." Kill Sky God used one hand to hold the giant hammer and swung it down. It was like the whole of space had become some brittle glass beneath the hammer. It just broke with the strike of the hammer. Han Sun's eyes froze. His body was suddenly full of light. He entered Super God Spirit mode again. The shattering space had not left any marks on him. The Skyvine Radish God Lance brought some cold light forward. It was thrust toward Kill Sky God. With a look of disdain, Kill Sky God raised his hammer to attack the Skyvine Radish God Lance. Han Sun flashed away holding the lance. He went behind Kill Sky God and thrust it through the back of his head. Super Spank. Han Sun was still in Super God Spirit mode. He used Super Spank's power at max capacity. Kasha! The tip of the lance broke behind Kill Sky God. It sounded like metal shattering. It was like some metal had been sucked into a blender. God light and sparks were everywhere. The tip of the Sky Vine Radish God lance only went in about 5 inches, before not being able to proceed further. Super Spank's power was not enough to completely destroy Kill Sky God's substance chain. It only shattered a few of the substance chains that were outside. Kill Sky God waved his big hammer as Han Sun had to pull his lance back. He used galaxy teleportation to get away from that system. Under the Super God Spirit mode, the broken space layers were unable to prevent him from using galaxy teleportation, but Wana was still inside his Destiny's Tower. She was burning with gold light. She cancelled Han Sen's Super God Spirit mode. Han Sun gnashed his teeth and held on, but he could not keep it up. His body fell out of Super God Spirit mode, forcing him out of galaxy teleportation. Although he left Kill Sky God's broken space, he was still inside the Big Baron systems. He had not gone too far. Without Super God Spirit mode, galaxy teleportation could not be used in the Big Baron systems, because they had magnetic storms and space vortexes. Han Sun tried his best to get to the Holy Palace. There the darkness power would at least affect the God Spirit. The God Spirit would not dare venture near that place. He had the Holy Kirin Spirit, which restricted the darkness from damaging him while he was in there. That was the best place for Han Sun to use as a battleground. Han Sun had not been flying for long when the sound of Kill Sky God's big hammer broke space again. The spiderweb-like cracks in space reappeared and covered the sky to trap Han Sr. Wanner. It is not that I do not want to take care of you. It is just because this is a critical moment. I need to live for the future. Han Sun raised his hand and Destiny's Tower appeared in it. Han Sun tossed it out. Seeing the Destiny's Tower go further and further, Han Sun felt Super God Spirit body could be used with his body again. Wanner's effects on him were diminishing. Destiny's Tower? Impossible. You are not a God Spirit. How can you have Destiny's Tower? Kill Sky God saw Han Sun throw Destiny's Tower away. He was shocked. Seeing it twice, Kill Sky God saw something amiss. He looked at Destiny's Tower and said, "No, this is not Destiny's Tower. It is just a copy of Destiny's Tower. I think I have seen this copy someplace else. I know it now. Back then, Sacred Leader wanted to create Destiny's Tower. It did not break. It is still here. They should really die." Kill Sky God's face looked more murderous. He kept clutching his giant hammer, but he did not attack. A scary power was gathering up in the big hammer. There were very old and mysterious spells on each side of the hammer. Han Sen's body still had Super God Spirit mode, but he was still worried. From inside Destiny's Tower, something was thrown away. Wanner's body shone with a golden light. It looked crazy as she entered blonde mode. It was just like Han Senator, she adopted a strange status. Her body kept rapidly increasing. It was still different from Han Senator. His Super God Spirit mode was not able to harm him. He just had to get out before it ended. Wanner was different. Her blonde mode cost her significant life every second. If she was blonde for too long, there was a chance her life force would end with it. The scariest thing was that after she turned into blonde mode, she would not recognize anyone. She would become like the raging demon lady. There was a chance that she would emerge from Destiny's Tower, not knowing who was a friend and who was a foe. Whatever you are, just go to hell. The symbols on Kill Sky God's hammer were like suns. The weapon was striking towards space. The God symbol that was hanging in space suddenly branded space with a God symbol. In the next second, the symbol shattered. As the symbol shattered, everything inside the symbol turned to dust. It did not matter if it was a planet or sun. Although it did not explode, it released energy. In just a second it had become a substance. Chapter 2986. Wanna woke up. Han Sun was in Super God Spirit mode. That scary power went through his semi-transparent body and did not do anything to him. Han Sun was holding the Sky Vine Radish God lance. He teleported in front of Kill Sky God and struck his head again. He had to act very quickly since Wanner would not last long. Dong. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance carried the power of Super Spank and struck Kill Sky God's neck. The tip of the lance plunged into his muscles and dug in a few inches before it was unable to go any further. Han Sun had selected a location that had no armor for protection. If he struck the armor, the result would have likely been unfavorable. Kill Sky God's eyes flickered with God light, but he could not dodge Han Sen's strike. The God hammer in his hand kept on swinging. Against the Super God Spirit body it was useless. Han Sen's Sky Vine Radish God Lance kept on attacking. It hit the same wound that had already been inflicted upon Kill Sky God. He wanted to continuously strike the same spot and sever his neck. Han Sen quickly discovered that the speed of his wound ripping was not as fast as Kill Sky God's wound healing. His repeated attacks did not accomplish much. Before the second lance reached that spot, Kill Sky God's wound released some God light and was almost healed. My power really isn't enough to kill an Annihilation class God Spirit. Han Sun frowned. He was in a bit of a rush. Destiny's Tower Wanner was getting worse. She was almost going to wake up. The only thing that made Han Sun happy was the fact that Destiny's Tower was being shaken by Kill Sky God's scary power and wasn't breaking. It did not even get damaged. It was just the power that made it keep bouncing around everywhere. It was moving further away from the battleground. Moaning sounds were heard from someplace within the tower. It sounded as if it was going to crack any second. It was uncertain how long it would last. If I had not borrowed a body and pushed my power to the max by using the strongest God skill, you would have been killed by now already. Kill Sky God looked at Han Sun coldly. The big hammer in his hand did not keep attacking. He allowed Han Sen's Sky Vine Radish God Lance to keep striking him, but he was still unable to inflict deadly, fatal wounds on him. Even if I cannot make use of all my power, you cannot damage my God Spirit body. Let's see how long you can keep it up. Once your power has been exhausted, it will be time for me to kill you. Kill Sky God's voice was so cold that it made one feel a chill deep in their bones. Han Sun did not know how long his Super God Spirit mode will last. This was the first time he had used Super God Spirit mode as a true god. For now, he did not feel uncomfortable or anything. It was similar to Wanner not disturbing him. Super God Spirit mode should have lasted a long time. If Han Sun wanted to leave, Kill Sky God could not stop him. If he left now, Wanner would be done for. If he brought Wanner with him, the Super God Spirit mode would be gone. That would have made it impossible to flee. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Han Sun would not give up Wanner. Besides the fact that he had been taking Wanner with him for very long, even if it was a dog, he would feel emotion toward it. Plus, there were many secrets regarding Wanner that he had yet learned. Han Sun had also enjoyed 3 drinks with Qin Xiu and promised him he would take care of Wanner. He could not just back out now. With things becoming like this, I cannot care too much. I will have to use the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit to get out of this. Han Sun had no other choice. Han Sun knew Kill Sky God's real power was not as invincible as he was making it out to be. When his body landed, he did not have an absolute suppressed power. Otherwise, Sky Vine Radish God Lance would not have hurt him. His god skills made his body stronger than a true god class elite. Even with a buff off a god skill, he would have been unable to destroy his body with the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. If he had a buff from the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit, there was a chance of success. If he used the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit now, he would expose the fact that Dollar was Han's senator. Fortunately, no one knew Han Sun was human. Even if he exposed himself, the god spirits would not come after him for a while. As for the future, Han Sun would just have to wait and see how it all shook out. Catcha. While Han Sun prepared to summon the Kirin's Holy Spirit to possess the Sky Vine Radish God Lance, he suddenly heard something crack open far away in space. In the space around, Han Sun and Kill Sky God's power broke everything into dust. There was nothing left to break. Han Sun heard that sound. He thought it was terrible. He turned around and saw Destiny's Tower display a crack. It had probably endured too many hits. Before Han Sun reacted, a gold, holy light came out from the crack. There was suddenly a blonde lady rising from the crack. Her blonde hair was waving as much as her clothes were. Wanner was sleeping inside Destiny's Tower. Now Wanner had become the blonde-haired lady. Her whole body released a weird blonde light that made her body look like a dream. It did not look real. Wanner looked like Hansen's super god spirit mode. But it was a bit different. Wanner's eyes were open. Clearly, she had gotten rid of her sleeping mode. But her gold eyes still had no focus. She was like a zombie. Wanner. Impossible. How are you still alive? You cannot still be alive. When Kill Sky God saw the blonde Wanner, his face changed. It was like he had just laid eyes on a ghost. Even earlier, when Hansen hit him, he did not have this expression. He still exhibited the pride of a god spirit. After seeing Wanner for a brief moment, he was freaking out. Hansen thought it was strange how he had just lost it like this. Kill Sky God recognized Wanner, which did not make Hansen feel weird. There was an 80% to 90% chance that Kill Sky God was one of the god spirits that descended way back when. It was not a surprise for him to have seen Wanner with the rest of Sacred. Seeing his face, he seemed absolutely terrified of Wanner. That made Hansen feel like it was unbelievable. It all happened in a moment. Wanner came out of Destiny's tower. Her unfocused eyes fell on Hansen, which made him feel a chill. Cha! Wanner's body suddenly went blurry in front of Senator with Hansen's vision. He was not able to see where she moved. Subconsciously, Hansen fell back. He noticed that Wanner was not going after him. That pretty and soft body of hers went before Kill Sky God. She raised her right arm without any emotion. Her hand was like a knife slashing down from up high. The blonde hair and gold clothes were waving as she struck. Kill Sky God's face looked shocked. His hands were holding a giant hammer. He swung it at Wanner as he fell back. Wanner's hand was full of a golden flame. She continued her downward strike. The giant hammer, which had destroyed everything, was like tofu being cut in half by her hand. Kill Sky God's face was wretched. He was unable to completely fall back. His face had been cut from his forehead to his jaw by Wanner's fingertip. It was like the center of his face had a red line. Chapter 2987 Got a god personality again. I was that strong. Hansen was shocked. The most shocking thing about this situation came later. After Kill Sky God was injured, he was so shocked that he wanted to escape, but could not even turn around. Wanner's face displayed zero emotion. Her beautiful body was flickering like a ghost. Her hands were waving as she moved. Since she moved so fast, even with Hansen's eye power, he only saw Wanner's body appearing and disappearing. Her hands possessed a lot of gold light as she flashed past Kill Sky God. When Kill Sky God turned his body to run, Wanner stopped. Her small body floated in space. She slowly turned and looked at Senator. Kill Sky God had only sprinted away about 30 feet before God blood was everywhere. His body was suddenly broken. It was worse than his body being hanged, drawn, and quartered. In the next second, Hansen saw a god light in the sky, but it was hidden by the Big Baron system's Big Baron power. It did not go into space and create a god sadness. After Kill Sky God's god body was burned away, one part of his upper arm bone remained. That bone was around 3 feet long. It was shaped like a hammer and pitch black. It appeared very heavy. Hansen thought. It looks like Wanner's power and mine are a bit different. The god spirit she killed left a god personality behind. The god spirits I kill leave nothing. Even the god personality was gone. Hansen was not currently in the mood to think. Wanner teleported in front of Senator. He gathered up power and looked at Wander with alert eyes. The blonde Wanner might not have recognized him. Considering the power she had just put on display, she was not someone Hansen believed he was capable of combating. Wanner arrived before Senator. The gold fire connected with Hansen's white flame. The two powers melted into each other, as if they were connecting Big Brother. Wanner looked at Hansen with shock and fell into his arms. Hansen held Wanner, which led to their flames extinguishing. It suddenly disappeared, and everything returned to normal. Big Brother. Wanner misses you. She misses you so much. Hansen looked at Wanner, but her eyelids became heavier and heavier. She tried her best to look at Hansen, but she was unable to fight the sleepiness. She closed her eyes and went to sleep. Hansen's expression looked a little distorted. Wanner's situation was very bad. Her life force was almost too weak for him to feel. It seemed as if she would die at any moment. Han-sun quickly took out a bottle of Geno fluid and fed it to her. But it had no effect. He summoned the light well-lots too, but that did not help Wanna either. If you miss your big brother so much, you must hold on no matter what. If you die, I can never see you again. Han-sun picked up Wanner and took Kill Sky God's bone back with him. Nev Destiny's Tower's tower had a crack that went all the way up to down. It was like it had been broken by someone. Han-sun knew that it had not been broken by Kill Sky God. It was Wanner who had broken it while rushing out. Han-sun picked up Wander and entered Destiny's Tower. He sorted out the stuff inside. He had a conflicted expression. Everything was there except two people were missing. Ancient Devil and Ancient Abyss Grandmaster were gone. The stone platform and space by Sema were still fine. They were not damaged, but they were gone. I did not expect Ancient Devil would be able to escape, but that is fine by me. Han-sun shook his head. He put Wanner inside Destiny's Tower, and put Destiny's Tower away. He was holding that Kill Sky God arm bone. Han-sun was thinking, right now, I have Evil Lotus God and Sky Armor God's God personality. This will be the third God personality I have received. But Evil Lotus God and Sky Armor God were just Destruction class. They cannot compare to an Annihilation class Kill Sky God and his Kill Sky God personality. Han-sun was hesitating because unlike ordinary creatures, he knew the God personality was God's spirit genes. Han-sun knew that due to the announcements. Although Han-sun was not able to absorb God's spirit genes, he always believed if he was able to absorb other genes, there was no way he could absorb God's spirit genes. Perhaps he had just not yet found a way to absorb the God spirit genes. It was like before in the sanctuaries, when he received super genes. At first, people were not able to absorb them. God's spirit genes might have been similar to that. He was unsure whether or not putting God personalities in God personality armaments could be absorbed. That Kill Sky God is very powerful. He just descended and was almost invincible. In the God Temple, he must be even scarier. Ordinarily, I would want to kill him and Moment God, both of whom are in the same class. As I am right now, the chances of me doing that are pretty slim. If I have Kill Sky God's God personality armament, my chances will be much higher. I should go swap it. Han-sun made a decision. He then thought, but I do not know what type of God personality armament Kill Sky God's God personality armament is. I hope it is armor, so I can block Moment God's attacks. There is no need for me to end up dead because of her. In Han-sun's heart, he knew that Kill Sky God's God personality armament had a low chance of providing him with armor. That arm bone would probably not have ended up looking like armor. No matter what it was, having an Annihilation class God personality armament should have helped him a tremendous amount. Han-sun collected the arm bone and figured out which direction he needed to go. He kept going deep into the Big Barren systems. Since he was already there, he figured he might as well check out the Holy Hall. He wanted to see if Little Flower and Old Cat were back yet. With the Holy Spirit, the darkness did not cause Han-sun much trouble or danger. He traveled back to the Holy Palace. He arrived there safely. He was back to being Han-sun now. He reached the Holy Palace. When Han-sun used the long, bright lantern's light and saw the ruins of the Holy Palace, he was shocked. The Holy Palace had been broken when Han-sun was there. Now, the Holy Palace's ruins were dyed black in dry blood. Red Ghost, the eyeless beast, and Old Vulture's giant bodies were lying across the ruins. The wounds on their bodies were solid. Their life forces were gone. The eyeless big beast's body was split in half. Red Ghost had been decapitated, and Old Vulture's feathers had all been plucked. There was a shadow standing on top of the ruin. Someone was holding Auntie May by the neck. He lifted her up in the air. Auntie May had no strength to struggle. Her hands clutched the other hands, but she could not get away. Mr. Auntie May saw Han-sun enter the radius of the bright long lantern. She had been hopeless, but now she had a bit of hope. She gathered up all her power and used whatever she had left to shout at Han-sun. Be wary of Old Cat. Chapter 2988 Holy Palace Changing He. Auntie May wanted to say something, but a hand squeezed her head. It twisted her head, ripped it off, and threw it to the ground like trash. Auntie May's head rolled across the floor. Her eyes were wide open. They were full of misery, and appeared as if she did not want to die yet. Han Sun stared at the figure and asked, "Who are you? Why are you killing them?" The figure looked like a human. It looked very young too. The person seemed to be about 20 years old. He was weirdly handsome. He had some weird presence that could not be described. His eyes were very small. They were like the eyes of a fox. A group of useless stuff. They could not even guard the holy palace. What was the point of keeping them alive? The young man licked his lips. He smiled and looked at Han Sr. "You are Little Flower's father. I did not expect a guy who did not practice holy body could earn Qin Xiu's approval." Han Sun looked at that young man and asked, "Who are you? You do not need to know who I am, but I must thank you. If you did not break the holy palace and put out all the race lanterns Qin Xiu made, I could not have killed those 4 watchdogs." The young man smiled at Han Sun and went on to say, "Now, I just need to kill you and find Old Cat, and the son that has practiced holy body. I will kill them all. I will slay all who place their faith in Qin Xiu. He will never make a comeback." Upon hearing those words, Han Sun frowned. Judging from the person's voice, it did not sound like he was with Old Cat. Why had Auntie May warned Han Sun about Old Cat before she died? Han Sun looked at the young man and asked, "Are you an enemy of Qin Xiu?" "I am, and I am also not." The young man came down from the ruins of the holy palace. "What is that supposed to mean?" Han Sun asked. The young man laughed and said, "Qin Xiu treated me like a student. He taught me Geno arts. He gave me resources. I cannot say he is my enemy. The grudge we have stems from the fact he hated me, and he ridiculed me. I think he will never expect that sacred was finally destroyed by me." It sounded like a betrayal. The words naturally flowed from the young man's mouth. It sounded like something he was proud of. Han Sun looked at the young man and spoke coldly. "I understand what you are saying. You are Sacred's traitor." Han Sun had heard about many people betraying Sacred Leader before the collapse. The people he used to meet, such as 9,000 King and others, were loyal to the end. That was why he forgot about that. "What? Have you come to seek vengeance on Qin Xiu's behalf?" The young man looked at Han Senator. His face bore a smile, but his eyes looked murderous. "I have nothing to do with Sacred, and I am not interested in seeking revenge on Qin Xiu's behalf." Han Sun shook his head. He was not interested in seeking revenge for Qin Xiu. When the young man heard that, he laughed incredibly hard and said, Qin Xiu, you were a hero all your life. I did not expect the person you chose at last to turn out to be a wimp. You really were blind." After laughing, the young man looked at Han Sun and said, "It is a shame. You and I have no grudge, but you were chosen by Qin Xiu. Cutting weeds without removing the root will result in them growing again. Qin Xiu must have really hated me. How can I let the chosen person remain alive? It looks like you are the one who wants revenge, and not Qin Xiu," Han Sun coldly said. The young man looked gloomy. His eyes opened wide. He was like a bolt of lightning coming before Han Senator. He raised his hand and reached out for Han Sen's neck. Dong! The cause karma knife appeared in Han Sen's hands. The knife was burning with Holy Spirit power. It struck the young man's hands. Han Sun felt power come through the knife. His body lost control, which made him fall back. His legs were on the stone floor. The push made him cleave 2 trenches. The young man coldly said, "That is because Qin Xiu is dead. He does not have a chance to care about revenge." "Really?" Han Sun clutched his knife. His body entered the mind of a chess game. His whole body blended into the broken universe. His eyes were like darkness as they peered at the young man. "You would not understand. You are just an ignorant poor worm that was used by Qin Xiu." The young man seemed to think of something. The murderous look appeared even harsher. He laughed. "I am afraid you have no idea what Qin Xiu was like. You are still dreaming that you can replace him to become the new sacred leader. I can tell you that is impossible. It does not matter if it is you or your son who practices holy body. You are all just chess pieces. Qin Xiu would do anything to get what he wants. Your life, in his eyes, is worse than just one of his sister's hairs. After being used, you will be thrown away like trash. Han Sun winked and said, "It sounds like Qin Xiu did something bad to you." The young man's face suddenly looked very contorted. It even looked twisted. He gnashed his teeth and smiled. "It was nothing. I was just like you. I was made a chess piece. I was a test subject. But I am different from you. You are all chess pieces. You are just lab rats. You cannot change your fate all the way to the grave. But I am different. I escaped the fate of being a chess piece. I became a player and defeated Qin Xiu. I am now scrubbing away Qin Xiu's last hope. He will never come back. Even in hell, all he can do is cry without hope." While the young man spoke, his teeth chomped hard. He suddenly laughed very hard. "So, what was Qin Xiu's last hope?" "The Holy Spirit." Han Sun looked at the cause karma knife that was burning with Holy Spirit power. The young man looked at him with disdain. "That half-broken product is not Qin Xiu's hope. I want the gene prototype. Qin Xiu must have found a way to give you, or your son, the gene prototype. He died, so he had no choice. I just need to kill you both, and Qin Xiu will become a loser." Han Sun pretended he had never heard of it before. He looked shocked and asked, "Gene reason? What is that?" The young man was already 15 feet away from Han Senator. He had not stopped his advance. He walked toward Han Sun saying, "Very funny. You are Qin Xiu's chess piece, yet you do not even know what a gene prototype is. If we have the same problem, can you explain it?" Han Sun did not move as he spoke. "Shut up," the young man shouted. "I am a replacement that Qin Xiu created, and one he put a lot of effort into. Who are you? You are not like me." His body sped up like a ghost in front of Han Senator. Han Sun suddenly saw the young man's hand move. He felt the whole of space flip as he faced off against the young. Time slowed down, which made Han Sun slow. "Today I will let you know what a real holy body is. I will show you what is better than Qin Xiu." The young man let out an evil laugh as he grabbed Han Sun's neck. Chapter 2989 Copied Body Dong. The young man's hand almost touched Han Sun's neck when a knife light suddenly blocked it. The knife light and hand light hit each other. It left a bloody mark on the young man's hand. Sky Palace's under the sky knife skill is quite amazing. The young man looked at the bloody mark on his hand and smiled even harder. He swung his hand. The wound on his hand was gone. Han Sun dove into under the sky mind. He did not move. He just looked at the young man. His knife went down. "I want to see how much you can endure." The young man's hand changed. Time and space also changed. Han Sun's knife was slower. His place was swapped. The time and space power was similar to the legendary holy body. Back when Little Flower joined the Geno Being Scroll fight, he had displayed this power. Han Sun's body's time and space kept twisting, but the young man could not break Han Sun's knife skill. He already dodged Han Sun's attack. He made Han Sun slower, but he could not hurt Han Senator. Han Sun's place was changed, but he was not afraid. He still slashed toward an area where there was no one. When the young man wanted to attack Han Sun's weak spot, a knife light appeared in space and stopped his hand. The young man's face looked more terrible. He noticed there was something wrong. The space around Han Sun was twisted, but Han Sun had already cast knife lights to stop his attacks. He was being stopped by Han Sun's knife lights. "It looks like your holy body is just like that, yet you want to exceed Qin Xiu. Pa." Han Sun waved his knife as he spoke. Han Sun was actually confused. The demon lady and the others said that only Little Flower practiced talents of the holy body, but there were obviously others who had practiced Qin Xiu's holy body. The holy body was not as rare as the demon lady led him to believe. That was why Han Sun used words to offend the young man. He hoped the young man would accidentally spill the beans on some of the holy body's secrets. That is just the beginning. The young man looked mad. His eyes turned a weird blue color. Nothing but blue was visible in his eyes. His body's blood vessels were showing. Even the very small blood vessels were like small dragonflies and little snakes around his snake. His blood was starting to show. Blue blood. Han Sun was a bit shocked by this, so he looked right at the young man. As the blood changed, the young man's presence grew scarier. It was like an angry ghost that would eat everything as fuel for its power was coming out from hell. Yes, I am a blue blood. Qin Xiu used his genes for a blueprint and combined it with better genes. That is why I am here. Although he did not admit it, it is a truth that can never be denied. I am greater than he was. I should be the real Qin Xiu. I should be the real sacred leader. The young man's eyes looked a little insane. Han Sun suddenly understood a lot. Back then Qin Xiu tried to copy people but gave up for some reason. Han Sun thought this young man must have been the failed test subjects that Qin Xiu abandoned. Despite what was done to them, they betrayed sacred. He looked at the young man's face and noted how much he looked like Qin Xiu. He was very similar, although they looked alike, because Qin Xiu's presence was so special. The young man did not possess the presence that Qin Xiu had. Thus, Han Sun had not noticed how similar they were. Boom! While Han Sun was checking him out, the young man's flames turned solid. His whole body was like a transparent crystal. That is a god spirit's presence. Han Sun frowned as he looked at the young man. What came out from him was the special presence only given off by god spirits. Yes, I have Qin Xiu's genes, and I have an annihilation class god spirit's genes. I am stronger than Qin Xiu. I am the real leader of this world. The young man's body was becoming stronger. The armor he had was vaporized by his presence. His naked body was revealed. His body was like a crystal. One was able to see the blue blood coursing through his body. The blue blood power and God spirit mixed together made his presence very strange. It was like he was a human but not a human. It was like he was a god but not a god. If you are so good, why did not rule the universe after Qin Xiu was killed? Han Sun deliberately looked at him with disdain. That is Qin Xiu's fault, the young man crazily said. If he had given me the gene prototype, I would have ruled the world. Those from sacred and the god spirits would be crying before my feet. Han Sun thought the young man was very stable and perhaps end up leaking a secret or two. He quickly asked, so what is the gene prototype? It is Qin Xiu's fault. The young man crazily spoke. His eyes were full of energy. He raised his head and roared to the sky. His scary power was like a volcano erupting. The body only had blue blood. In a moment, the blue blood seemed like it was burning. It made the whole body a transparent blue. The flames on the body were blue too. Han Sun frowned. He was a little bit worried. He was afraid Little Flower might turn out like this young man. He had used all the power he had in the alliance to search for Little Flower inside the sanctuaries, but there had yet to be any news of him. That made him very worried. Qin Xiu, what are you doing? Han Sun thought Qin Xiu was scarier than these god spirits. At least god spirits had their rules and principles to follow. Qin Xiu had just done what he pleased. He had not concerned himself with the consequences of his actions. No one was able to stop him. He had no moral compass. To be without rules was a very scary thing, and Qin Xiu was the scariest demon in the deep abyss of not having any rules. Killing god spirits, using gene technology to mix races. Even the holy beasts he grew had their horns taken and souls claimed. The genes were used to replicate people. He went against nature. Qin Xiu had done many scary things. It was much scarier than what a god spirit did. The young man, who looked like a blue crystal god spirit, stared at Han Sr. Anything related to Qin Xiu should die. He slowly spoke each word. When he was done, he reached out his hand and continued looking at Han Senator. Suddenly, the blue light was released. It twisted all of space. Han Sun felt like his body was going left and right in the time and space power. Somehow, he was in front of the young man. The young man's hand grabbed him by the neck. Die! The young man's face looked murderous and full of rage. His hand was full of power. The blue light was spilling. He was going to break Han Sen's neck. Chapter 2990 Love Killing Pigs Pang. Han Sen's body was like a sponge being squeezed by the young man's hand. Suddenly, another version of his body appeared behind the young man. A weird power movement was coming out of Han Sen's fingertips. It tapped the back of the young man's head. The young man coldly laughed. If it was 4 holy spirits combined in one, perhaps it would work against me a little. With just the Kirin's Holy Spirit, you cannot damage my God Spirit holy body at all. The young man's expression quickly changed. He noticed that Han Sen had not used the Holy Kirin's power. He had just been tapped on the back of the head. After that hit, Han Sen was sent flying 1,000 miles. The young man turned around. He coldly looked at Han Sen and said, I said I am better than Qin Xiao. I am the true immortal God Spirit holy body. Your power does nothing to me. Han Sen's finger had not even hurt his scalp. Han Sen remained silent. He quietly looked at the young man. Stop wasting time. After I kill you, I will reunite you with your son in the pits of hell. I will make sure you don't end up too lonely there. The young man raised a hand. He wanted to combine the power of his holy body and the God Spirit power. When he raised his arm, the young man's eyes looked smaller. He saw that his finger was uncontrollably shaking. It was steadily shaking faster. It was like his finger was playing piano in the air. It was not just his hands. The young man quickly discovered that his entire body was shaking. His muscles were twisting, and his blood vessels were jumping. He was shaking more than a person with Parkinson's disease. His body was powerfully shaking, but the young man could not feel anything wrong. It was like the body that was shaking was not his. The young man brought his hands together, but he could not stop from shaking. He screamed at Han Senior, what did you do to me? Nothing. I just don't like trouble. Fighting powerful creatures can be tiring. So that is why I prefer turning powerful creatures into pigs. Then I kill them as they squeal. It is easier that way. Han Sen looked at the young man calmly. He lifted his cause karma knife. The holy flame on the knife was wildly shaking. What are you? How dare you talk like that directly in front of me? Die already. The young man flashed a blue light. He was going to grab Han Senator just as he moved. His bones and flesh appeared to recede. The blue god light was fading away. The crystal god body was suddenly smaller. He now had a common body. How is that? Impossible. My God Spirit holy body. The young man was in complete shock. He peered at his hands. His hands were already leaving God Spirit mode. His entire God Spirit body started to wilt soon after. His life force and presence were shrinking. He dropped down from true God level to butterfly class. Right now, aren't you just a pig for me to kill? Han Sen raised his knife and swung it. Many knife streams were in the sky. They moved with Han Sen like a galaxy going into the young man's body. Arg! The young man forced himself to use his holy body's time and space power. But butterfly time and space powers were not enough to block Han Sen's stream of knives. Pang! The young man's body was hit by the knife stream. He exploded with a blue light. A trail of blue light quickly went into the darkness. In the darkness, the young man gnashed his teeth and yelled, Han Sen, I will kill you. Han Sen ran into the darkness, but he could not see that young man's body again. He frowned. Han Sen looked back. He saw a pile of blue metal chips on the floor. Han Sen used his purple eye butterfly to take a look at the chips. He quickly discovered that those pieces belonged to a metal doll. It had to have been a treasure for copying one's body for survival. What a shame I did not kill him. Han Sen looked at the bodies of the demon lady and the others. He waved his hand, and their bodies were collected in Destiny's Tower. Han Sen did not like them much. If it was not for Little Flower, he would have killed them while he was destroying the Holy Palace. Now that they were dead, Han Sen was not going to be sad. They were true God-class bodies. Han Sen wanted to take them back and see Little Flower's reaction when he saw them. If Little Flower had no objections, Han Sen would happily turn them into Geno fluid. He looked at the ruins of the Holy Palace and departed the Big Baron systems. After leaving the Big Baron systems, he teleported back to Space Garden. Han Sen thought, Super God Spirit Body and Super Spank are powerful, but I am not sure what power that was. After killing the God Spirit, they will be destroyed and not leave anything behind. To me, that is not beneficial. I will be unable to get God Spirit genes or God Spirits. I also won't be able to get God Spirit armaments. I will be unable to make myself stronger. He thought he should kill low-level God Spirits, first to find the God Personality armament that was suitable. Then he could move on with saving Golden Growler. After returning to Space Garden, Han Sun saw 9000 King. He had delivered the xenogenic genes to Space Garden, which was how he had avoided being killed. Han Sun told him about the demon lady and the others being killed. He also told him about the young man. When 9000 King heard all of that, he was infuriated. He gnashed his teeth and said, "He is a traitor." "Do you know him?" Han Sun asked. "How could I not know him? He was the master's favorite student. The master even gave him a name. They shared the same name even. His name is Qinlan. Master treated him like a son. His reputation was higher than the 10 generals. I did not expect him to betray everything." 9000 King looked very angry. He wanted to skin Qinlan alive and get rid of Sacred's traitors. Han Sun asked 9000 King about Qinlan, but 9000 King did not know much. He did not know Qinlan was a gene clone of Qin Xiao. He did not know anything. The xenogenic genes 9000 King brought surprised Han Senator. There were many true God class and butterfly class xenogenic genes. There was enough there to make little angel true God class. Han Sun thought, the leftover resources can make someone else true God class too. Who should I give them to first? Aside from little angel, who was able to combine herself with him, the others could help him out in less obvious ways. It was hard for them to match him. There is no rush with this matter. I'll just leave things as they are for now. I have to put a God personality into a God personality armament first. Han Sun found a chance to be dollar again. He took the God personality to the God Palace. Chapter 2991, Getting a God Personality. Han Sun had 3 God personalities. They were the Destruction class Sky Armor God and Evil Lotus God, as well as the Annihilation class Kill Sky God. Han Sun went to Evil Lotus God's God Temple. He wanted to see what type of armament Evil Lotus God's God personality armament was. Why is Dollar here again? Did he not just kill Moment God? Maybe he is a bloodthirsty mongrel. I don't know what level of God spirit he is challenging. It should be at least a Disaster Class 1. He killed a Disaster Class Moment God. So there is no way he is challenging something of a lower level. While everyone was discussing it, Han Sun walked into Evil Lotus God's God Temple. All the audience felt a little weird. What is going on? Why is Dollar challenging a Destruction Class God spirit? No, that God Temple must be shut down right now. He cannot challenge it. Why is he in there? What is going on? After a while, everyone saw the God flag on the God Temple start to shine. Before long, it went dim. The God spirit must have been killed. Han Sun quickly came out from Evil Lotus God's God Temple and went to Sky Armor God's God Temple. The same thing happened again. Han Sun quickly emerged from Sky Armor God's God Temple. Holy shit! What is happening? Dollar can enter a shut-down God Temple and slay the spirits inside? Is he cheating? Ordinary creatures did not know the difference between God Temples and sealed temples. They were all frozen. He is not leaving. Dollar is headed for the God Temple upstairs. He is not going to challenge a Disaster God spirit again, is he? No. Dollar already challenged a Disaster Class God Temple group. He is still going up. Does he want to challenge an Annihilation Class God spirit? He went in. He really went in. While everyone was watching, Han Sun pushed open the shut-down Kill Sky God Temple. He walked inside. The God Temple's door closed itself. Like the God spirits that descended died outside the God Temples. Only someone holding the God spirit's God personality can enter. Normal creatures did not kill descended God spirits. They did not know this method to enter the God Temple. Before Han Sun entered Evil Lotus God and Sky Armor God's God Temples, he killed the defenseless God spirits inside. They did not have God spirits, but he had received the God personality armaments. Evil Lotus God's God personality armament was a purple crystal lotus flower-shaped ring. Sky Armor God's God personality armament was a half-body armor. It was different from what Han Sun expected. He had been hoping for a weapon. Han Sun did not try out what kind of power those 2 God personality armaments wielded. He went to Kill Sky God Temple and saw Kill Sky God's empty shell God body standing atop the God altar. He looked very powerful but without anger. Han Sun already had the experience, So he knew it was just a useless empty shell that could not fight back. Han Sen's eyes scanned Kill Sky God. If he wanted to kill a god spirit, he had to destroy his god base. Otherwise, the god spirit's healing power would have been too strong for him to destroy. Evil Lotus God was a low-level god spirit. Han Sen was able to slash open his god body and find the god base with ease. An annihilation class god spirit like Kill Sky God was different. It wouldn't be as easy for him. Fortunately, Han Sen saw Kill Sky God be killed by Wanner. He saw it clearly. He knew exactly where the god base was, which saved him a lot of trouble. He was not going to use Super Spank this time. He was afraid of destroying everything, and then not being able to claim the god personality armament. In the end, he summoned his Sky Vine Radish God Lance and pierced toward Kill Sky God's god body. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance was thrust into the empty shell that was Kill Sky God's god body's chest. Sparks erupted everywhere. The strike only damaged his skin a bit. He did not even bleed. Kill Sky God's real god body is stronger than the universe god body he used when he descended. Han Sen knew he would be unable to break a god base like that. He hesitated and summoned the Kirin's Holy Spirit. He made it possess the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance suddenly burned with white fire. Han Sen struck again. This time, the tip of the lance managed to perforate it a lot. It also ended up getting stuck within the muscles and bones. Han Sen thrust and thrust. He was busy for quite a while when he finally pierced through the blood and the bones inside. He saw the chest releasing a black and smoky heart. That is it. Han Sen's thrust the heart. He noticed the heart was even harder than the god bones and god flesh that had kept it protected. Han Sen held the Sky Vine Radish God Lance and attacked it for half an hour before finally being able to pierce through the heart. He wiped away the sweat that had accumulated on his forehead and said, "Luckily, that guy possessed someone when he descended to chase me. If he had used this god body to fight me, my fight would have been harder." After completely destroying the heart, Han Sen quickly brought out the Kill Sky God arm bone. The god body turned a light substance and headed toward Han Sen's own arm bone. It all went into his bones. The black light of the bones grew stronger. It was floating inside Han Sen's hand. When all the light substance melted into his bones, the bone light looked dim. After the light was gone, Han Sen saw the arm bone become a black bone hammer. The bone hammer was far too cruel. The hammer was just a bit bigger than a fist. It was like a rubber hammer in a house. Why is this hammer so different when compared to the hammer Kill Sky God wielded? Kill Sky God's hammer was so much more powerful. What is this tiny thing for? Han Sen complained, but then an announcement played. Annihilation Class God Personality Armament received, Kill Sky Hammer. Han Sen looked at the Kill Sky Hammer. The name was very powerful and overbearing, but it looked very small. It looked like a black bone hammer. The head was a cylinder. Both sides of the hammer head had a god symbol. It looked old and mysterious, but Han Sen did not know what the two god symbols meant. When he and Kill Sky God fought, the big hammer had those two god symbols too. They likely represented his power. Just like before, Kill Sky Hammer had a message in Han Sen's head. Kill Sky Hammer Annihilation Class God Personality Armament. Seeing Kill Sky God get resurrected, Han Sen did not dare remain. He put the Kill Sky Hammer into his Sea of Soul, and swiftly departed Kill Sky God Temple. All the races of the universe were looking at the Kill Sky God Temple. They saw him emerge from the God Temple right when the God flag flashed. Then it went dim. Clearly, a God spirit had died inside the God Temple. Really? Dollar killed an Annihilation Class God spirit, and the temple was closed down. This seems fake to me. Does he play like that? All the creatures opened their eyes wide. They were not able to believe it. Han Sen had just exited the zone of the god temples when he saw Bai King floating in the air. He was laughing at him. Chapter 2992 Holy Body Geno Fluid. We must find a place to talk, Bai King said to Han Sen with a merry laugh. Okay. Han Sen wanted to know why Bai King saved him earlier, as well as why Bai King was happy letting him claim all the benefits he wanted. Bai King did not say anything. He merely led the way. Han Sen believed Bai King would lead him back to the Extreme King, but he did not. Bai King stopped on an asteroid. He then just sat on the crystallized asteroid. He smiled and waved at Han Senior. Sit. Han Sen sat down and asked, "Why have you come looking for me?" Bai King pointed at the God Palace in space and said, "You must have now seen the power possessed by an annihilation-class God spirit. If you are going solo, it will be impossible to win in your fights at the God Temple. If we combine our forces, perhaps we stand a chance. What do you think?" Han Sen checked Bai King out. He did not answer his question. He quietly asked, "Why me? Give me a reason." Bai King seemed to know that Han Sen wanted to ask that. He smiled and said, "It is very simple. It is because of it." Bai King stroked a ring on his finger. It was a metal ring with a black gem on it. There was no special power possessed by it. When one looked at it, one would believe it was an ordinary decorative ring. Han Sen had a closer look and thought, "This black gem looks like the black crystal horizontal evil gave me." Seeing Han Sen's reaction, Bai King smiled. He stroked the black crystal on the ring and said, "This ring is a treasure given to us by our Alpha. He brought it back from Sacred. The Alpha used to say that if a creature can make this ring create a reaction, the Extreme King must help that creature in any way they can. Only that creature can make the Extreme King free and powerful." "Has it reacted to me?" Han Sen asked with a frown. Han Sen did not believe Bai King was a person that listened to his Alpha. To become a king, all of them had incredible confidence and faith in themselves. They would not have listened to the ramblings of an old Alpha and listened to an outsider like Han Sen, who was their enemy. Bai King nodded and said, "Yes. This ring has been passed through many generations of our race, but it has never reacted before. We started to think that whatever Mr. Alpha said about it was not true. Over the billions of years waiting for it, the time has come. We waited billions of years and are now finally here. When you are next to me, the ring reacts. It is so deep in the soul that only the person wearing the ring can feel it. It is so strong and clear. It was at that moment I knew you were the person the Extreme King had been waiting on for billions of years." Han Sen looked at Bai King and did not speak. That story would not have only existed in a storybook. Han Sen had a hard time believing that someone would remain that loyal to anything. It was not like the world did not have anyone loyal, such as 9,000 King, the Demon Lady, and the others. They were loyal to Qin Xiao, and Han Sen believed they were. The Extreme King was different. It was easy for one person to remain loyal. For everyone to remain loyal generation after every generation was not something Han Sen could believe. After 3 generations, one tended to forget their ancestors. If one person developed in a foreign country, no one would really remember their motherland 3 generations later. The Extreme King had been going on for many generations. If they said they still believed in the Alpha, whoever believed it must have had a problem in their brain. Bai King seemed to see through what Han Sen was thinking. He stroked his ring and said, "Of course, Mr. Alpha's speech was not the main reason I treated you so nicely. It was because in that speech, you were the key to the fate of the entire Extreme King. That means I have to treat you so well." "What key?" Han Sen asked. "The extreme bodies of the Extreme King come from Sacred Leader's test subjects. It was something called Holy Body Geno Fluid. If the Holy Body Geno Fluid was a success, then all the creatures can activate their potential and gene origin power, so that their genes could evolve. Then every creature could get their super holy body." After speaking, Bai King looked at Han Senator. It seemed as if he wanted to ask something, but he did not ask anything. He continued with what he was talking about. "Ever since Sacred collapsed, the Holy Body Geno Fluid has not succeeded. Our Alpha used the half-finished Holy Body Geno Fluid and received the special body. He used that special body to survive amidst the chaos and keep the Extreme King alive." "Is that special body a king body?" Han Sen asked. Bai King nodded and said, "Yes, it is a king body. That special body plays a big part in genes, but it is different from normal genes. In the beginning, the Extreme King people were able to activate their king bodies. Some geniuses were able to activate their king bodies by the time they were 15 or 16 years old. Everyone activated a different kind of body. As time passed, The bloodline kept becoming lighter and lighter. Now the extreme king people can only activate their king bodies by the time they reach king class. Most of the extreme king cannot activate their king bodies anymore. Han Sen looked at the ring and asked, "What does any of that have to do with this ring?" Bai King put the ring down and placed it in front of Han Sr. According to what the Alpha told us, that ring is a tool for testing king bodies. It will only work for a successful holy body. Han Sen took the ring and placed it in his hand. That very normal ring suddenly made his soul shake. It seemed as if it was able to make the black gem inside Han Sen moan and groan. Han Sen kept stroking the gem in the ring and thought, "It is very amazing, but I feel the black gem in the ring is different from the black crystal." Mr. Alpha believed Sacred Leader had a backup plan, even for a time after this death. We believed someone would take up the mantle to proceed with his research on the holy body Geno fluid. We just needed to hold on to that ring and wait until the real holy body Geno fluid came out. At that time, our king bodies would be perfected. It would be a perfect holy body. It would not be like a king body that becomes a little harder to reach as time goes by. Bai King looked at Han Sen as if his eyes were on fire. "If you want to get the holy body Geno fluid from me, you are wrong. I have never used holy body Geno fluid, and I don't know to make that stuff." After saying that, Han Sen threw the ring back at Bai King. Bai King picked up the ring, smiled, and said, "We can talk about this another time. Today, I looked for you so we can cooperate for the killing of an annihilation class god spirit. Are you interested?" Han Sen knew Bai King must have something more to say. He stayed quiet a moment before asking, "Which annihilation class god spirit do you want to kill?" "Moment God." Bai King slowly said those two words. Chapter 2993 United Rain slid down the roof. It landed on a stone board and created some bubbles. Looking outside, there was an old house at the peak of a mountain. There were also lots of other mountains. The rain created a layer of mist that draped the mountains. Crunch! The rain was very heavy. The door of the old house opened. Because the house was so old, the door made sharp noises. Even the sound of the heavy rain was not able to keep it down. The big door of the old house was pushed open. The first thing that appeared was an elegant pair of red high heels. Next, there was a white smooth jade leg and a red qipao. A woman was wearing a red qipao. She was holding a red umbrella. She walked into the house with her body wagging seductively. Her hair was like a cloud. "Fortune teller, how long are you going to hide?" The red-clothed woman with the red umbrella walked into the center of the old yard. She looked at what was in the house and spoke her words like a ghost. Her voice was soft, but the rain still could not hide it. The room had a door with flower carvings on it. It was pushed open. An old man stepped out with a flag. His other hand clutched a wine gourd. He was sitting on a broken square table. After taking a sip of alcohol, he looked at the red-clothed woman, who was outside, and said, "If I were able to hide for 1 hour, I would hide for 1 hour. If I could hide for 1 more second, I would hide for 1 more second. I would rather survive for as long as possible than be dead. If I can live a bit longer, I will live a bit longer." The rain was too much. The umbrella was very low, so one was not able to see what the red-clothed woman looked like. Yet her ridiculously curvy body and long black hair, which looked like a waterfall, were very eye-catching. One may not have been able to see her face, but one could recognize her. "I am afraid you would prefer death compared to living," the woman chillingly said as she stood in the rain. The old man laughed and said, "That means you are here to collect my life." "It depends on whether you are accurate or not," the red-clothed woman said. "That will determine if I take your life." The old man picked up his gourd and had another sip of alcohol. He squinted his eyes as he asked, "So was I accurate or not?" "You were accurate but also not accurate," the red-clothed woman replied. "I really don't understand what you are saying." The old man laughed as he asked, "Which is accurate, and which is not accurate?" The red-clothed woman was silent a moment before saying, "The prediction you did for my master was very accurate. The god palaces appeared again, but the other half is not accurate. The god palaces did not break through. They still suppress a full sky. The fortune-telling old man laughed. Master is in too much of a rush. It is not time yet. There is only a month left, the red-clothed woman said. Even an annihilation god temple has yet to be broken. I do not see how the Geno Hall will be broken in a month. When the time comes, you will understand. The fortune-telling old man looked dull. He looked at the red-clothed woman and said, But I suggested it first. Your master needs to do as the old man says. If there is no mistake, the prediction will come true. I am here for that, the red-clothed woman said. My master does not understand why he must do that. What does it have to do with breaking the god palaces? That person has the ability, but he has never reached that level. With his power, he cannot break the god palace. Predicting someone's fate is not easy. The old man traded his whole life to get this result. About the progress, I, the old man, cannot predict it all. If you do not believe the old man, you do not have to do it. The fortune-telling old man spoke, as if he did not care. I hope you are right. Otherwise, you should know that if you make the master mad, even that guy in the Geno Hall will not save you. From now on, you stay here. Until that day comes, you can predict your life. You can't blame others. The red-clothed woman turned around and left after speaking. In the rain, she walked until the rain covered all vision of her body. The old man squinted his eyes and looked at the sky full of rain. He said to himself, If I did not want to, do you guys think you can really find me and trap me here? You really underestimate me, Han Jinji. While he was speaking, the old man was holding the wine gourd and the cloth, which had the word destiny written down. He walked out of the living room and headed for the yard behind the old house. The raindrops dripped off the old man, wetting his clothes and hair. Only the cloth that told one's fortune did not touch any water. It was like it was immune to the rain. The old man walked to the farthest part of the yard, which was the highest point of the mountain. He waved his hand and walked a few circles in the yard. After a while, he calculated something. He paused for a bit before placing the cloth into the gap of the stone board. He walked back a few steps and looked at the cloth. He fixed the angle and position. With a look of satisfaction, he said, The end is not the end of fate. I, Han Jinji, cannot change fate, but I will not let that moment be the end. After that, the old man walked back into the living room. He laid on the broken bed and yawned. He quickly fell asleep. Han Sun and Bai King spoke for a while. Han Sun then left the asteroid field. Bai King wanted to kill Moment God. It did not seem like a mere coincidence. He knew the relationship between Han Sun and Golden Growler, so he must have known Han Sun was planning to save Golden Growler. Bai King had also mentioned he had a way to break the time god powers that had claimed Golden Growler, which would allow Golden Growler to be set free. He could then use Golden Growler's power to fight Moment God. After everything came together, Bai King planned to kill Moment God. Bai King did have a request. After Moment God was killed, he wanted to be the one to take the god personality armament. Han Sun did not have a problem with that. He lacked the confidence for killing Moment God by himself. If it worked, he was fine with giving Bai King the god personality armament. In Bai King's plan, he needed to have Dollar do it. He also needed to cooperate with Han Senator, that very much troubled Han Sr. Bai King only knew Dollar was the holy baby. He did not know Dollar was Han Sun too. He saw Han Sun go to save Golden Growler, and he agreed with Han Sun's power too. He asked Dollar to contact Han Sun, so that he could chip in and help them out. Han Sun thought Bai King knew his secret, which is why he asked him. After Bai King's explanation, he knew he had no clue. Bai King only knew Dollar was the holy baby, and that the holy baby came from Space Garden. Thus, he guessed that Dollar was a good friend of Han Sun, and wanted him to contact Han Senator. Bai King never imagined a crystallizer, and a xenogeniac would have been the same person. Where am I going to find a Han Sun for him? Han Sun had a wry smile. Although Space Garden had many elites, none of them had developed fully. He could not find anyone who was able to disguise himself as Han Sun or Dollar. Chapter 2994 Finishing Wish. Back in Space Garden, Han Sen had been troubled by the situation. Although he was able to use Han Sen's identity to reject the proposal, Han Sen had tried his hardest to save Golden Growler. This was a good opportunity. If he rejected the offer, Bai King might grow suspicious. Although Dollar and Han Sen's looked different, ordinary people would not suspect them as being the same. Unfortunately, people like Bai King knew Dollar was the holy baby. If Dollar and Han Sen were not able to show up at the same time, he could start thinking things weren't the way he presumed them to be. Han Sen thought, "This is far too troublesome for me, but I have no choice. I have to decline the offer." He was not able to think of an adequate solution. If he waited any longer for other humans and spirits to develop, by the time he was true God, he could find someone else to disguise themselves as him. Right now that was too difficult. Beezesti, beezesti. While Han Sen was thinking, he heard a buzzing noise. It was like something was rapidly flapping its wings next to his ears. He looked closer. He did not know when it had appeared, but there was a small bee next to him. Han Sen thought it was weird. How was a Xenogeniac be able to fly there? Where he lived had the protection of a Bysema. A Xenogeniac of that level could not bypass the Bysema. Pang! The little bee turned into smoke, and a beautiful little girl fell out. She fell right into Han Sen's arms. Han Sen discovered it was Bauer who had fallen out. Bauer! She was wearing a big pair of sunglasses. Bauer was clinging to Han Sen's neck. She laughed and asked, "Dad, where have you been lately? Why don't you play with Bauer anymore?" "I have recently." Han Sen thought of something. He slapped his legs and switched the topic of conversation. "How could I forget about the sunglasses?" In the next moment, Han Sen developed rapid excitement. He quickly picked up Bauer and asked, "Bauer, can you use these glasses to look like Dad?" Bauer tilted her head with confusion as she asked, "I can, but why would I want to look like you?" "Don't ask me that," Han Sen said. "Just quickly tell me how long you can become me for." One Bauer thought for a moment and said, "Your body of energy is strong. If I want to become you, it will cost me a lot of power. It will last around 1 hour. 1 hour? That is almost enough." Han Sen was quiet a moment and then said, "Try becoming Dad now." Bauer was very nice. She used her sunglasses to scan Han Senator not long after. She successfully turned into Han Senior. "Can you use this?" Han Sen reached out his hand. His hand had the flame of the Xian Yellow Sutra. "Like this." Bauer reached out her hand. Her hand was just like his. She had the Xian Yellow Sutra's flame. Han Sen was very happy. He used a few Geno arts. He soon found out the Geno arts Bauer could use were his Xenogeniac Geno arts. They included Blood Pulse Sutra, Xian Yellow Sutra, and Jade Skin. She was able to use those Geno arts. The Dongxian Sutra and the Story of Genes were something she was unable to cast. Han Sen's heart jumped. He transformed into Xenogeniac Battle Body mode and told Bauer, "What about this? Can you look like me right now?" Bauer used her sunglasses and scanned him again. She successfully turned into the Han Sen Xenogeniac mode. Like before, while she was in Xenogeniac mode, she was only able to use Jade Skin and Blood Pulse Sutra. She was still unable to use the Dongxian Sutra and the Story of Genes. Regarding the Super God Spirit mode, no matter what mode she was in, Bauer could not make use of it. Han Sen thought, "It's just enough. Bauer can use Xenogeniac mode to disguise herself as Dollar, and I can come out representing myself Han Senior." He gave Bauer the Evil Lotus Ring, Skybone Armor, and Kill Sky Hammer to see if she could effectively use them. Bauer used the Evil Lotus Ring and Skybone Armor. The Evil Lotus Ring shone with a purple light. It turned into a purple shadow that covered her body. This was the Evil Lotus by Sema. It had good resistance to every power. It was good stuff for the purpose of surviving. The Skybone Armor had a knife light. It was like many knife lights protecting Bauer. The Skybone Armor was a very rare armament that could attack and defend. The knife light protected the body to provide powerful defense. And the knife light was also like a saw that could strike things. It was very powerful. The Kill Sky Hammer was able to break space in a single hit. The power it possessed was ridiculous. Any Bysema would break under the Kill Sky Hammer. When Bauer enters Xenogeniac mode, she is very powerful. With these 3 god personality armaments and me next to her, she should be fine. She will just leave if anything bad happens. Han-sun thought this was doable. He explained things to her once and asked if she wanted to take part. Bauer can become Dollar Dad. That will be so fun, Bauer will love it. Bauer looked very excited. Moment God's power is unpredictable, Han-sun told Bauer. You need to be careful. Listen to my commands. You will enter the God Temple later, and you will be the first one to leave. You cannot risk fighting Moment God. Just pretend and swing the hammer a few times. Your father has got this. Little Angel had been drinking Geno fluid by the gallon, and she was almost maxed out. She still probably would not catch up and be at what was required for the fight in that God Temple just yet. The next day, Han-sun had to meet up with Fox Queen. He became Dollar and wore the Sky God crown. He returned to his God of Wealth Temple. The God of Wealth Temple had just opened. Fox Queen secretly came before the God Temple. While still outside, she said, I am Fox Queen. Please, let me see you, Mr. God of Wealth. Come in. Han-sun stood atop his altar. He looked very serious when he spoke. Greetings, mister. After Fox Queen entered the temple, she bowed. What I promised you is possible, Han-sun coldly said. Were you doubting my power? I would never dream of doing that. It's just the 9-spin destiny mirror is too important to the fox race. That is why I feel very nervous. Please forgive me. Fox Queen was very scared as she kowtowed. At the same time, she was very excited. Take it. Han-sun's heart jumped. The 9-spin destiny mirror appeared in the air. It flew toward Fox Queen. When Fox Queen had the 9-spin destiny mirror in her hands, the Sky God crown displayed a message in Han-sun's head. Wish fulfilled. Received 300 lifespan. An additional requirement master and slave contract is available. Many lifespan years flew out of Fox Queen and went toward Han. Senator Han-sun witnessed his lifespan increase. He had a lifespan of another 300 years. His total lifespan was almost 3,000 years now. Han-sun also saw that Fox Queen's forehead had a mark that said, God of Wealth's Wealth. It had some special connection to the Sky God crown. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.